Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the What If Guy, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Issei Became a Juggernaut. Now before starting, please give this video a like, and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Issei was born a heavy baby. He was born 50 pounds at birth with a normal height for babies. His mother should have died during the pregnancy, but no one could explain why except she was a very strong and willful woman. His weight was very abnormal, as most babies were around 5 to 10 pounds, he was 50 pounds. The doctors tried to find out what was wrong with him, but nothing they did could find out the problem. After about 2 months of testing, media coverage and such, Issei was finally taken home with his parents. Issei was 10 years old and weighed 250 pounds. He was 5 feet tall, taller than the average teenager. He was currently playing in the nearby park, while his father and mother were watching, while talking with each other and having a romantic moment. He was currently playing in the sandbox, all alone. Why was he alone? Well, when you are different, even parents don't want their kids around someone strange. And a 10-year-old weighing 250 pounds, as heavy as a grown male, maybe even heavier, that was strange. He looked like a normal 10-year-old boy, minus the height difference. He just weighed a lot. So, the park was empty, but Issei was having fun. He was building a massive sandcastle. Yes, he enjoyed the beach as well, and building a massive sandcastle was fun. He would spend hours upon hours at either place, making a sculpture. It was then a figure, wearing a black gothic Lolita outfit appeared. She looked like a girl of 12, maybe 14. She had long black hair down to her hips and gray eyes. She had pointed tipped ears, but with her long hair it was hard to see. It was thanks to the gentle breeze that Issei noticed her hair. He was looking up at her as she stood next to his massive sandcastle, looking down at him. Hello, are you looking for someone? I am the only one in this park besides my parents, so I think you might have been stood up. I came here for no one but found you instead. Oh, you can walk away if you want. Why would I leave? I just got here, the girl said, tilting her head. People don't like me. They are afraid of me. Because you are very powerful. No, because I weigh a lot even though I don't look like I should. Right, you're human, so you have no idea what being powerful means. Oh, what are you talking about? Do you want to play with me? Okay, the girl said, dropping into the sand next to him, playing with his sculpture and beginning to sculpt with him. His parents looked over and noticed that Issei had a playmate, and they both turned to each other with a smile. I knew he would find a friend, his father said. I told you, didn't I? Many times, dear. Issei turned to his new friend and smiled. I'm Issei. Offis. Offis, what a strange name, but I like it. Do you want to be friends? Friends, what would I get out of that? Someone to talk to and play with. Okay, I'll be friends. Issei blinked. Such a strange girl. Issei, it's time to go, it's getting late, his mother called. Hey, 5 more minutes. Come on, Issei, you can play with your new friend later, it's time for dinner. Issei pouted and turned to Offis. Want to meet here tomorrow? Okay, I will be here, Offis said. Issei smiled and quickly hugged the girl before running off. It was about 9 p.m. and Issei was settling in his bed. He was smiling like a jackass, happy as can be, as he had made a new friend. A strange one, but a friend nonetheless. He was so excited to meet her tomorrow, after his homeschooling, that he could barely get to sleep. Issei and Offis met up every day for a year. It was however on a June morning, as Issei was with Offis in the playground, when Issei got sick. What are we going to do today, Offis? I don't know. Do you want to play in the park again? I enjoyed making sand castles with you. Sure, that's so. Issei stopped as he leaned against the alley wall, before coughing up. Issei was 11 years old, and his weight increased to 334 pounds, yet he didn't look like it. Offis turned to him, no emotion as usual. She never showed emotion, and just stared at Issei as he hacked up another glob of. It's happening quicker than expected, she said. Your body is being devoured by your own power. Goodbye, Issei, Offis said before disappearing. Issei looked up as Offis was leaving and he fell to his knees, coughing up some more before falling face down into the pavement. Don't go. Issei began to lose consciousness, but not before hearing some words from a male. Interesting powers, my boy, but I know I can help grow them, so live for me and let's rule the underworld together. Issei was 16 and he was moving with his parents to Kyoto. His father got a promotion to regional manager and was moving to Kyoto to begin his job as the regional manager for the company he worked for. His mother was a housewife and this was just the way it was. They were moving to a nice house, not too big even though they could afford it, but bigger than what they had before. Same amount of bathrooms and bedrooms, but a bigger den, kitchen, dining room and a basement. They finally had a basement. When they arrived in Kyoto, it was 5 in the morning on Friday the 13th, in March. Issei had slept in the car the entire way and he woke up when the car stopped at their new house. Issei looked around and his mother turned to him. Here we are, honey, the town of Kyoto. It's right next to Tokyo, so your father is only a half hour on the bullet train away to his company. Are you okay with leaving Honshu? I didn't have any friends. Mom Offis disappeared when I was younger, so I didn't have anyone. Alright, hun, could I go to school? His father turned to him and laughed. You are definitely not my son if you want to go to school, but you did enjoy the library at school. Sure, son, go and make some friends. Okay, I'll try, Issei said with a small smile before leaving with his backpack. As Issei walked towards the school, his mind began to remember back when he was 11. Issei had gotten very sick and he nearly died, but he was revived by a devil known as Akatsuki Osawa, a perverted man with many beautiful ladies as servants. Issei had served as a devil until about 4 months ago, right around the time as his father got a promotion. No connection, of course, just lucky coincidence. Issei was a pawn in the service of Akatsuki, but eventually was released as Akatsuki and the rest of the peerage died in a battle with the church. Akatsuki went rogue from the devil clan and began a rampage with his servants, getting the attention of heaven and eventually died fighting exorcists and angels. Akatsuki wasn't exactly super strong, but he held out for hours in an abandoned house. Last stand kind of thing. Issei had easily survived, using his powers to take the hits and eventually run away. Issei had ran away from Akatsuki as he began to lose, which made him a coward, but Issei never wanted to be a part of his group anyway. Akatsuki abused him. It made him stronger, but Issei didn't like the man. He was mean. Issei had interesting and unique powers. Issei was gaining weight constantly due to eating. That is why he was such a heavy baby, because he was absorbing the mass of the food directly into his body, increasing his weight. With each increase in mass, Issei's tissues increased in density and strength. They became stronger and stronger. His strength would increase with each increase in weight as well. This was making him into an unstoppable monster of unimaginable strength. A juggernaut. This was also not the only extent of his powers. When he got any sort of momentum, his body became even stronger and was unstoppable if his weight was heavy enough. He was also able to absorb any type of mass, be it organic like a body or a tree, to inorganic like a car, steel, concrete, a tire, or pretty much anything solid. Food was also something that increased his weight. He was also able to channel the mass into an energy source and was able to fire it. This did have its drawbacks though, as if he was too heavy, well, he obviously couldn't do some things. Like, get on top of a girl or something like that. Luckily, Issei had met up with a friend of his, a fallen angel. This fallen angel never revealed his name, but he had black hair with a blonde tip, and he had a bad boy look to him. The fallen angel gave him a belt that had several tubes. The tubes had a needle tip above each one. There was a total of 10 tubes. These tubes allowed Issei to channel the energy of his mass into the tubes, decreasing his weight to normal levels so he could live normally. It also allowed him to regain the weight in case of trouble. Each tube held up to 2,000 pounds each, giving a total of 20,000 pounds of power. It was actually 2 belts that were strapped around each thigh, with the tubes placed for his fingers. Yes, he would needle his fingers to absorb or put the power away. He had all tubes completely filled with energy. Issei was currently walking to school, thumbing one of the tubes in thought. He thought back to the fallen angel and to Offis, especially Offis, missing the girl. He wondered why she ran off but never dwelled on it for too long. He sighed and looked ahead, finally coming upon the school. He looked up at the large 3-story school, then looked at the gate before walking in. It was early, but that was okay. He wanted to go to the library anyway. He wasn't concerned about making friends anymore as he enjoyed reading. He loved to read many things: fiction, fantasy, sci-fi, war books, and several other things. Issei walked into the yard and opened up the main doors, heading into the school. Unknown to him, he had already caught the attention of a redhead. Issei's life was going to be getting interesting. Rias turned to Sona, who were both standing at the window of the 2nd floor. Sona, who is that boy? Issei Hyoudou. Apparently, he is a stray devil and a powerful one at that. I just got a call from Falbium. He told us to be careful and to take him out. He had just killed his master like 4 months ago and he was with his family the entire time. They couldn't make a move to take him down because of such. Now that he is here, we have an opportunity. Be careful. Did he say why? He said that Issei has some unique powers, not seen before, and it's quite potent. He might be one of the strongest devils in existence, but Falbium also said he is quite timid and not one to fight much. It's kind of weird that he killed his master then, right? Yes, but if he killed his master, he must be taken down. I agree. After school then my group will be helping as well. All right, after school. Until then, we watch him. Sona nodded and left to begin her schoolwork. Rias stood still for a moment before leaving the 2nd floor as well, heading to do her own business. Issei looked at the large board for the new students, and he was the only one. He scratched his head and memorized the location for his classes, before heading to his homeroom class, which was on the 1st floor near the cafeteria. He entered the empty class and took a seat in the far back corner of the room, near one of the windows. He loved window seats. He took out his books and began to set up his desk, ready to learn. Issei was kind of a bookworm and he liked school. He wanted to grow up and get ahead in life, like be a doctor or a fireman or a policeman. He wasn't sure exactly what he wanted to do, but he wanted to do something important. He also wanted friends, but he was never able to get friends in his life. His only true friend was Offis, and she ran away when he got sick. He sighed and rubbed his temple, thinking back to Offis. She knew I was getting sick and dying. Who is she? How did she know about my condition? Where is she? These were the questions floating in his head constantly. He sighed again and was woken up by the bell ringing, signaling class was starting soon. He sat up straight and waited to learn. Issei was not originally a bookworm and he didn't like school in the beginning, but it became his place of solace due to his inability to make friends. It was the only way for him to escape the pain of knowing no one wanted to be with him because he was different. Only Offis wanted him, but after she left, He got depressed quickly. He missed his friend because she treated him like a friend, even if she was a strange one. It was then Issei opened his eyes wider as he felt a presence. Devil. He looked around, and while he couldn't pinpoint it, he knew there was a devil in his room, and he bit his lip, a bit worried now that he was going to be targeted since he ran away from his master. He sighed and rubbed his head, not wanting a confrontation. He did enjoy fighting, but he wasn't one to lash out in anger, and he really didn't want to fight because he ran away. It was hard to anger him. He was a timid person, but what people didn't know is that he really did enjoy to fight. The school day went by pretty quickly, and Issei once again didn't make any friends. Everyone seemed to avoid him, and it made him sad. Issei ate lunch alone, though he could have sworn he felt eyes on him. And he noticed that this school was full of devils, which made him even more worried, so he couldn't focus on his schoolwork. So, as the school emptied, Issei decided to go to the library, which was on the first floor near his homeroom classroom. He went inside and checked out a book on World War II and began to read it while walking out of the library. It was then he felt devils approaching, and before he knew it, he felt the familiar feeling of a magic spell. He dropped his book as he began to fall, but as he fell he quickly placed his fingers right up against the tubes strapped to his thighs, before absorbing 2 tubes, so 4,000 pounds. He looked around and noticed there was a multitude of devils. There was a red head with 3 other devils next to her, and then a black bob cut with 7 other devils, for a total of 12 devils. Rias looked over at Sona. I guess you were right, he was pretty timid. Do we really go through with this? This is the first time I've seen a stray who wasn't a violent, murdering psychopath. It was then a blonde boy, one who was with the bob-cut female, looked at the boy. Sona, I thought you said this was a strong devil. He seemed pretty weak if we took him down so easy. Rias groaned and Sona glared at the boy. Sajji, you idiot. What? Sajji questioned. Rias sighed. We said he was timid, not weak. Don't you people know who I am? Issei started. Issei was in the ground of the school floor as the magic circle made him face through it. I'm the Juggernaut, Issei roared, before moving his arms and throwing the concrete and wood floor all around before jumping out of the crater. When he landed, his feet cracked the floor under him and the area shook. Sajji looked at him with fear and Issei grinned. Rias and her peerage and Sona and her peerage made a fighting stance, magic circles deploying. My, this guy looks like a lot of fun, Rias, Akino said, smiling happily. Rias sighed. We totally could have handled this without fighting. Issei took off his shoes and socks, placing them on the ground before he began to move, running right towards Sajji with a grin on his face. If he was going to fight, he was going to have fun, which fighting was fun. Sajji was far away, hiding in the back ready to fight. There was Kaneko, Tsubasa in the front, fists at the ready. Issei grinned and Kaneko and Tsubasa raised a fist to punch him, but he just barreled through them like a bowling ball, knocking them over his body and onto the ground. Everyone's eyes turned wide, and the bishops of Sona, Akino, Sona all fired their magic powers, but Issei barreled right through them, only steam, smoke coming from his body from the connection of all their powers. He pushed all of them aside into the nearby walls before running right past Rias before tackling Sajji into the next room, who was down for the count with just 1 tackle. Issei turned and smiled, looking at the others before he began to walk back to them, his footsteps shaking the building with each step. He approached and Kaneko and Tsubasa both got in his way, ready to fight. He looked down at Kaneko and grinned. Well, who is this tiny girl? Aren't you a little too young to be a part of high school? Kaneko glared at him and sent a fist right into his crotch, but when she struck, she basically hit something solid. She reeled back with her fist in pain and he just grinned. Oh well, I enjoy itty-bitty titties too. Issei grabbed her face with his left hand before twirling around and tossing her across the school, sending through 2 floors to the 3rd floor, before she went through a room's wall and sent her skidding into the teacher's desk, shattering it. Issei grabbed onto Tsubasa and laughed before tossing her into the pond, Ruruko, knocking them both out as they flew through several walls and ended up in the cafeteria, in the vat of corn. It was then a sword went right into his neck, but it shattered upon impact with his skin. It was the blonde, Kiba. Kiba looked shocked before his eyes went wide as Issei grabbed him with both hands before slamming him onto the ground at his feet, making a massive body-sized crater, knocking Kiba out with just 1 body slam. He turned to the pink-haired knight and grinned before picking up Kiba and tossing him right into her, knocking her out. The Juggernaut juggernauts whenever he juggernauts, Issei said, flexing his muscles. He turned to Sona, Akino, and Rias and the bishops, but was assaulted by water, thunder, fire, and earth magic, which only put smoke and steam on his body. He smiled and ran right towards them, grabbing both bishops by their necks before slamming them into the wall then the ground, knocking them out for the count. Issei then turned to Sona, Akino, and Rias. He began to approach them, happy with this fight. As he approached, Rias activated her magic circle. Enough games. Die. You who killed your master deserves only death. Rias said, angry. She hates losing her servants. Rias fired her demonic energy, her power of destruction, which connected with Issei as he was running, which sent him flying backwards into several walls, forcing him out of sight. Of course, there was a massive amount of energy, so no one could see him when he flew. Rias sighed and rubbed her head. He was a strong devil, but I guess it's time to tell Falbium the job is complete. It was then Issei's head broke through the wall behind them and he smiled. Here's the Juggernaut. All 3 turned and Issei broke through the wall, sending Sona flying when a piece of the wall connected with her head, knocking her out. The Juggernaut stops for no man, no monster, no walls, and especially for not a big-titted beauty like yourself. What are those double D's on both of you? Rias's eyes were wide as she formed another demonic circle. Who and what the hell are you? I'm the Juggernaut, Issei roared before backhanding Akino, sending her flying unconscious in another room. Rias fired another block of demonic energy, but Issei crossed both arms and made a stance, taking the power of destruction directly. When the smoke, steam, and debris cleared, Issei was still right in front of her, smiling. His arms were blackened and smoking. That hurt, Issei said before grabbing Rias by her neck before shoving her into the wall nearby, not knocking her out, but getting her to be trapped underneath the rubble. Issei turned to Rias and smiled. Juggernaut smashed. Issei put his energy back into the tubes and ran out of the school, but he turned around a minute later and went for his book before walking out of the school reading it. Rias coughed and began to move from under the rubble, but then a magic circle appeared, a red one. Damn, I guess I am too late, said a voice. It was Sirzechs. Brother, what are you doing here? Stopping you from making a mistake and making a fool out of yourself. What? Issei didn't kill his master. His master was a rogue. Falbium didn't know about it as he was too engrossed in his work as usual. I was just told about Issei being spotted here, and I wanted to tell you that he wasn't a threat and didn't need to be eliminated, but I was also here to save you from being embarrassed. Brother, who is this guy? He just calls himself the Juggernaut. That's accurate, it wasn't his official name, but it fits him. Issei Hyoudou is a powerful devil who has a special ability. He is able to absorb mass and add it to his own weight, increasing his strength and durability with each increase in weight. Didn't you notice how his footsteps cracked the ground and shook the surroundings? Well, he was heavier. He becomes an unstoppable force of nature. If he gets any momentum, this increases his durability and strength tenfold, making him a greater than on the run. However, he is slower than pretty much everyone, but all it takes is one hit and it's over. Rias got out of the rubble and looked around. I thought you said he was timid. He is timid, but did you guys provoke him? Saji called him weak. Well, he is very proud of his strength and I guess he enjoys fighting, but did he seem angry? No, he was enjoying himself and was making jokes. Well, there you have it. Well, I hope you can get the school repaired and we can figure out what to do with the Juggernaut when he comes back, Sirzechs said before leaving in a magic circle. Rias sighed and went to work gathering her servants from the wreckages. Issei arrived home and went up to his bedroom, taking a look at his shirt. Damn it, completely ruined. I love this shirt. FAWK, Issei groaned, tossing his torn-up shirt in the trash can. It was the following day, a Friday, and Issei was already heading to school. The day before, he had a run-in with a big-titted beauty with gorgeous crimson hair. She was a devil and so were all the others with her. Yes, a devil like himself. They attacked him, due to the fact that he was a stray devil without a master. What they didn't know was that his master got himself killed and Issei just ran from him like a coward, not exactly interested in helping out the bastard. So, they attacked him and he completely crushed them and wasn't even trying hard. He was just having fun. Issei was still reading the book he got from the library the day before as he walking to school. He felt the eyes of the devils that attacked him the day before, but he paid them no attention. He wanted to read this book and not deal with them. He didn't want to deal with them, period. Okay, well, he did kind of want to gloat a bit that he took them all down, but he didn't want to have another conflict, despite the fact he enjoys fighting. Issei is a strange creature and he enjoyed being strange. It was one of his quirks. He enjoys fighting, but also doesn't like conflict. He wants to be left alone, yet he enjoys fighting. Such a weird man. Issei took a seat in the homeroom class, still reading the book. It was a large book and it was a very good one. World War II was his favorite war in terms of studying it, its history and just everything about it except the Holocaust. He didn't enjoy the mass genocide. Killing was one thing, but mass murder, hell nah. That wasn't cool. But he did enjoy the tank warfare on the Western Front and the Pacific Theater. I mean, who doesn't love carriers and battleships, right? As he took his seat, the white-haired, itty-bitty-titted female took a seat nearby. Her gaze on him. He noticed her gaze, but never gave any sort of indication that he noticed. He just ignored her and kept reading, without a care in the world. He wasn't afraid of them at all, knowing they knew to leave him the fuck alone. He just wanted to get through life despite the fact becoming a devil would eventually throw a wrench into his plans. I mean, his parents would be so old while he looked so young. He would outlive them. He would outlive his wife if he married a human. He would outlive his kids. It wasn't fair, he had so much on his plate, yet all he did was read his book, blissfully ignorant of what was around him. As the day went by, Issei noticed more and more that the devils he attacked were watching him. He was getting kind of irritated with it, despite knowing why they were. He guessed it was because he completely destroyed them and the only one who hurt him was the crimson-haired beauty, Rias Gremory, yet she didn't do much damage at all. He didn't even try hard, not that they knew anything about it. So, Issei was spied upon, even during lunch when he sat alone in the corner. He felt so many eyes on him, it was ridiculous. All he wanted was to be left alone, but he had to be spied upon. So the day ended quite uneventful. The people who attacked him left him alone. He wasn't approached by anyone. The teachers left him in peace. It was a quiet day with a good book. It was a good day. A great day. A fantabulous day. Issei walked home in peace, reading a good book. When he opened the door, he was assaulted by the fantastic smell of a home-cooked meal. He put his book down near the stairs banister and walked into the kitchen, smiling. Good afternoon, Issei. We are going to have dinner early. Your father has worked very hard today, as you can see, and the house is almost finished being set up. So he is very hungry and I am just about to call him in," his mother said with a smile. "Dear, dinner is ready." Issei's father showed up shortly, a big smile on his face. "Thank you, dear, and welcome home, Issei," he said as he took a seat. His mother placed a bowl of Spanish rice, fajita chicken, grilled bell peppers, grilled onions, grilled mushrooms, and a plate of tortillas onto the table. She then placed 3 plates onto the table and smiled. "Dig in," she said. The men of the family wasted no time and tore into the food before them, making giant chicken fajita tacos before them. They both grinned at each other. "Ah, mine is bigger, Issei." "Yeah, well, mine is spicier," Issei gloated as he grabbed the ghost pepper canister and put a nice helping of the super spicy pepper onto his chicken and rice. "What two can play at that game?" his father taunted, placing more pepper onto his chicken, more than what Issei did. His mother looked at both of them with an "oh dear" expression and smiled. It was family bonding time, and while it wasn't exactly appropriate at a dinner table, it was what her family did. She wouldn't have it any other way. In fact, she grinned. "Oh yeah, boys," she taunted, pulling out a can of scorpion pepper, peppering her chicken. Both of the men in the family turned to her with wide eyes of surprise and fear. Issei's mother just put on the hottest pepper onto her chicken, which blew the hotness of the ghost pepper out of the water. "Dear, are you sure that is a good idea?" Issei's father asked, concerned for his wife. "Were you saying I can't take this? Well, not only you two can eat spicy foods," his mother said, taking a bite of her chicken. With one chew, Issei's mother began to sweat and she spat out her food, sticking her tongue out as she grabbed a glass of water and drank it. Little did she know, water makes spicy foods even worse. She screamed and began to run through the kitchen, wanting to find something to take away the pain. "Dear, I told you shouldn't." "Okay, drink this," he said, placing a cup of milk before her which was downed instantly. As he tried to pour another, her mother pushed the cup away and grabbed the jug, drinking it straight from the jug, chugging it like it was the first drink she had after a week in the desert. Issei chuckled quietly and just began to eat his meal, before his eyes watered and he moved from the desk like a rocket, going into the freezer and grabbing the gallon of ice cream. His father looked at them incredulously and laughed. They all began to eat the ice cream together, ignoring the food that was on the table until later. It was just the Hyoudou family. They weren't perfect, but they loved each other. The dinner ended very nicely, despite the fact all 3 of them wanted to compare sizes by trying to eat spicy pepper. It ended with a laugh and good talking, but it ended all the same. Issei had retired to his room. As part of a teenager thing, he hid in his room most of the time. Right now, he was reading a book while looking out the window. He was sitting on a very expensive and comfy chair, his feet on the desk as he read the book. Unknown to him, a sinister force gathered at his door. Ding dong. The doorbell rang and his mother answered the door. She smiled and looked at the people standing before the door. There was a crimson-haired, big-titted beauty, a black-haired, big-titted beauty, a white-haired, itty-bitty-titted beauty, and a handsome blonde-haired male with such a cool guy face. "Can I help you?" she asked. Rias smiled. "You must be his mother." "I am Rias and I am one of Issei's friends from school." "What, you are one of his friends? Well, come on in then." "Honey, who is at the door?" the father asked. "A bunch of Issei's friends." "Really, are you just yanking my chain?" "No, they really claim they are his friends." "Wow, he got friends fast. I knew taking this job was going to work out wonderful." "Has he had trouble making friends?" asked Aquino. "Quite. When he was younger he was different. The doctors couldn't find out what was wrong with him, as they said he was perfectly healthy. He was just gaining weight quickly while not looking any different, but he got normal when he was 12. Just one day, all of the abnormal weight disappeared," his father stated, looking at his wife. She looked quite sad and concerned. Yes, he had trouble making friends because he was different. He did make a friend when he was younger. It lasted a year, but she just up and left. "What was her name, dear?" "Offis, honey." "Oh yes, her name was Offis." Rias looked at Aquino with a bit of surprise and concern, but Aquino shook her head slightly. There was no way that Issei made friends with the infinite dragon god. "Oh, I'm so sorry for taking up your time. Issei is up in his room. I'm sure he would be happy to see all of you," his mother said with a big smile. "Thank you," Rias said, heading upstairs with her peerage. Issei was still reading his book. He heard the doorbell but paid it no attention, not caring about who was at the door. It had nothing to do with him most of the time, so why be nosy, right? However, it was then he felt their eyes again. His eyes narrowed and his shoulders slumped, before he put on a smile. He placed the book on the ground and began to slowly turn around. "Well, if it isn't the itty-bitty-titty committee and her big Ed friends." Kaneko said. Issei gave her a wicked grin before looking up at Rias. "So, how can I help you?" Rias immediately bowed to him, which wiped the smile off his face. The others all bowed to him, obviously an apology. "We want to apologize for attacking you yesterday afternoon. We weren't told the entire nor the true story. We were just following instructions." "It's fine. I'm not upset. Plus, if anything, I feel quite good since I won. It was fun," Issei said with a chuckle. "Though, just because I said it was fun I don't want it to happen again," he said with a laugh. Rias stopped bowing and smiled, looking at him. "I thank you for your forgiveness." "So, Issei was it?" Issei nodded. "What are you going to do now, since you don't have a master?" "Be normal. Get a job. A life. A wife. A family. Live and die. Enjoy life." "I haven't thought about it. It wasn't my choice to become a devil." I was forced into this life. The man I served was a pompous jackass who thought he was strong and picked a fight with the church. He was cut down and I was freed," Issei said with a sigh, looking out the window at the beautiful mountains in the distance. "So, to answer your question, I don't know, everything changed when he turned me. I will outlive my parents. I will outlive any human there is, so I don't know, but I will find my way. I always have." Rias frowned. "A lot of the reincarnated devils don't know what to do either. You aren't the first one to become lost. They really use their master and the master's peerage for guidance, and they tend to find happiness that way. Well, while that may be true for them, I am sure there are more devils like my master, cruelly using their servants for their own gain, not caring at all for them. There is, but most devils take care of their servants quite well." "I see. Why do you ask about what my plans are? Why did you come here if all you wanted to do was apologize?" "I talked with your parents and they told us about you, so I thought I would see how you are doing. I was told that your time as a devil wasn't very good, so I just was curious." "I see. Well, I told you so. What now?" "I don't know. I guess we will just leave." Issei nodded and watched as Kaneko, Rias and Kiba left. Akino began to leave but turned around and smiled at him. "You know, sweetie, we are very happy with Rias. Her family is known for their compassion with their servants. Just something to keep in mind. Rias has 8 pawns open," Akino said, walking away leaving Issei behind. Issei sighed and turned back to his book, but was unable to read it. He groaned and climbed into his bed, shutting his eyes as he thought about what just transpired. Before long he drifted into a nice relaxing rest. It was the next day, the day after Rias apologized with her peerage to Issei for attacking him with the intent to kill. The student council, Sona and her peerage have yet to approach him with apologies, but he wasn't angry in the slightest. He honestly was quite carefree and nonchalant. He just wanted to live his own life his own way. He had given thought about joining Rias's peerage after Akino talked to him, telling him that Rias was quite an awesome master, but Issei was going to decline the offer that was standing. He just wanted to live his own life the way he wants to, enjoy his own life because he won't be here forever. A short meaningful life is better than a long meaningless one. A short life filled with fun is better than a long one filled with boredom. Issei had kept himself away from Rias and the others, only focusing on his schoolwork. He ate lunch alone, he was in PE alone, and he was left alone. It was a peaceful day. He was currently taking his normal route home, which was actually the long way home, but it was filled with more scenery. It was about a 3-mile trip home, but it was through a nearby forest which was gorgeous this time of year in April. It was the middle of spring and it was a lovely time of year in Japan. The trees were blossoming. Think sakura trees, tall green trees, bushes everywhere. He even saw several wild animals, deer and the like. He was quiet, despite his powers making him quite a loud monster. As Issei crossed a bridge that went over a large creek, a figure appeared. It was a slender girl with long black hair down to her hips and with violet eyes. Issei immediately sensed the power coming from the girl, albeit very faint. Not many people could sense things like this, but Issei recognized it as familiar to the aura from another person. The man that helped him with his powers and gave him the tool to let him fix his weight. He knew the other man was a fallen angel, so he knew that the girl before him was a fallen angel. "Excuse me, you're Issei Hyoudou right from Q Academy?" the girl asked. She had such a lovely voice, very light. Issei nodded. "Yes, I am Issei. Do you need something?" he asked, tilting his head slightly. Issei didn't know who this girl was, but he knew she was a fallen angel, so he knew that she knew that he was a devil. He assumed she had ulterior motives to talking to him, so he might as well play along to see what's going to happen. He hoped it would be amusing. "Hi, are you lost? Is there anything I can help you with?" "Yes, sort of," the girl said. "Obvious faker. There is no way this is her true form. I can't believe it. I just wanted to ask you a quick question." "Shoot, are you seeing anyone right now?" "Oh no, that's wonderful," she said with a very happy voice. "Is it, huh? In that case, since you are single, do you think you would like to go out with me?" the girl asked. Issei struggled hard not to raise an eyebrow. He asked. He was confused. "Alright, that's unexpected. Maybe this will be amusing after all." "Go out with you? What? I've been watching you and you pass by on this bridge a lot and I don't know, you seem so gentle and you are very handsome." Issei blinked, completely playing his act of being a clueless dolt. "I would like you to be my boyfriend," she stated with determination. "Alright," Issei said, tilting his head with a trademark gentle smile. That's great. Then let's go on a date this Sunday." "Alright, I will meet you in front of the train station at 11, Issei said smiling. The girl bowed her head. Thanks." She began to run off but stopped. "My name is Yuma Mano." Issei gave her a small wave, while smiling before walking home. Issei grinned to himself, his hands in his pockets as he normally walked. He was like totally cool like that. Very interesting. I think this will turn out very amusing for me. I wonder what her true aim is. That is the true mystery, but I guess I can't complain about a date with such a pretty girl. She did have quite a nice rack, huh? Issei got home safely later that night and ate dinner with his family, not bringing up the girlfriend thing. Time skipped to the future. Dun. It was Sunday at 10:30 and Issei arrived at the train station. He was dressed in a simple pair of tan cargo pants with a red t-shirt with an American superhero that used some kind of metal or iron for armor. He waited patiently, leaning against a pole, waiting for his supposed date to arrive. He had considered that this was all a prank, for humor, which wouldn't be too amusing for him, but he wanted to give the fallen angel the benefit of the doubt that she had real motive to talking to him that was more than just a prank. It was 11 finally, and Yuma appeared with a big smile on her face. She was wearing a tan dress with white frills on the bottom. She looked very cute. Were you waiting long? Nah, I just arrived here myself. I'm just glad you came. Giggity. Issei was immediately grabbed by Yuma and she buried his arm in her chest, right between her two melons. He was then dragged along by Yuma, who was obviously quite eager for this date. He let out a noise as a complaint that he was being dragged, but only out of shock. She dragged him throughout the area, taking him to several shopping centers. Damn it, I had to go shopping in order to find out this fallen angel's motives. Maybe this is the motive. Maybe this is what she wanted to do. Make me suffer. Yuma dragged Issei to a shoe store, which was like kryptonite to a man. As he entered, he felt all his strength leaving his body and he wanted to collapse right there on the floor. But then something came from the heaven. It was one of those little booths where you can sit and try on new shoes. Issei followed Yuma to where she was going to go, and took a seat on the booth, his body recovering from the curse of the shoe store. After the shoe shopping, without any fucking purchases, they went to lunch. Issei had gotten a nice BBQ bacon cheeseburger with a cup of water, while Yuma got some chicken fingers with a shake. When they sat in their booths, Issei actually finally gotten a good look at Yuma and her outfit for the day. He did notice it was a tan dress, but he finally noticed that it wasn't exactly modest either, at least the way she wore it. The dress had buttons at the chest, for a total of 6 buttons. However, she had half of them unbuttoned, which gave Issei a very generous view of her assets. He automatically knew she did it on purpose. That shake looks delicious. Back in my old town, shakes were hard to come by. Want some? Only if you don't mind, Issei said with a smile. Not at all, Yuma said, taking a spoon and giving Issei a nice spoonful of ice cream. She had actually eaten of this spoon and was offering it to him. Amusing. She was leaning over the table, elbows pressing against her chest, which made them appear bigger. She defiantly was doing this on purpose. Enjoying the view, she asked. Issei ate the ice cream and looked away, not going to answer that. Of course he did, but it wasn't like he was purposely looking. She was pretty much forcing those godly orbs upon him. The date ended with Issei taking Yuma to the nearby park. They were both walking towards the beautiful fountain in the middle of the park. The sun was going down and cast the sky in a beautiful symphony of red and orange. Very pretty. Yuma leaned in and pressed his arm in between her s, smiling up at him. Issei, did you have a good time tonight? Surprisingly, yay. Thank you for taking me on such a wonderful date. I hope we can do it again sometime, Issei said, giving her his trademark gentle smile, which wasn't an act. He actually did have fun, despite the horror of the shoe shopping. Yuma was caught by surprise and pulled back a bit, which got a confused look from Issei. She was conflicted. On one hand, she knew she had to remove him from the picture. He was too strong and was opposing her plans to rise up to help Azazel and her other fallen angel leaders. She wanted to be just like them, strong and important. If she was able to remove the strong existence, as Azazel had put it, she would rise through the ranks and maybe she would be recognized by the leaders. On the other hand, she had such a wonderful date and someone had finally showed her some kindness. It was something that didn't happen very often. Someone truly treated her with kindness and respect, and not even once did he purposely look or comment on her s, despite her pretty much giving them to him. He was a true gentleman, and for once, it was like she could finally have a friend. Sure, she had many fallen angel comrades, but comrades aren't friends. They wouldn't risk anything for her and would abandon her if they had to. A friend would stay by her side till the bitter end, and she saw that in him. She saw the goodness in his heart. It was my pleasure. Would you do something for me, Oz, to commemorate this occasion? Anything you want, I would do anything for you. Issei smiled happily. Issei could tell that any motive she had, she was second-guessing herself. This day had proven very amusing, and he honestly was still amused by the girl. He wondered what she was second-guessing herself on until a thought came to his head. He let out a much bigger smile as a conclusion reached himself. She was second-guessing herself on killing him. Now this was truly amusing. Can you, Yuma said, only for tears to begin to fall from her eyes. She was crying, and this wiped the smile off Issei's face. He hated when people cried, especially females. I'm sorry, but I went this far already and I can't turn back now, otherwise I will be a laughingstock, Yuma said as tears fell from her eyes even more. She stepped back and a bright light enveloped her. Issei watched as the figure before him changed. Her violet eyes grew a more mature and sharp tone to them, despite the fact she was crying. Her already large ass grew in size, somehow, and her dress disappeared and turned into basically a leather thong. Yup, a leather fucking thong. How the fuck does anyone fight in a thong? During this transformation, he had gotten quite the view of her bare ass, and he had to admit to himself, he enjoyed the view. Despite enjoying the view, Issei had already absorbed some of the power from the tubes, gaining 4,000 pounds, the same amount of power he used against Rias and her friends. He noticed she was still crying as she formed a purple light spear in her hands, as 2 large black wings appeared from her back. They were black and feathery, a fallen angel. She was crying. She really didn't want to kill him, yet she thrusted the spear at his gut. As the spear neared his gut, an unimaginable and amusing sound was heard. Dink! The spear just hit his rock-hard chest and was like a nail hitting a piece of metal. It was harmlessly casted away. What? Yuma cried in shock. She thrusted the spear again. Dink. Nothing changed even though she put all of her power into the thrust. Smoke did appear at the contact site from both attacks, but no damage was shown except a red mark. Yuma looked up at Issei with fear as he cracked his neck and crossed his arms, giving her a smirk. Are we done yet? Yuma fell to her knees, tears falling. I'm so sorry. Issei sighed and nodded. I could tell you didn't want to. I'm actually a little surprised you still tried to kill me, but I can't blame you either way. I know that it's like to second guess yourself. You aren't angry with me. Well, I'm so sorry. I really didn't want to kill you. Just don't make me go shoe shopping again. I hated that. What? Issei smiled and chuckled. No, I'm not upset or angry with you in all honesty. I just wanted to make you stop crying. He said with a gentle smile. You were having a hard time choosing what to do. That is why you also didn't put much strength into either spear of light. Not that it would have mattered. You were so conflicted that it was so easily read. I am just glad that you made the right decision in the end, despite the fact if I was weak, I would have been killed. Yuma sniffled and looked up at Issei now with fear. How are you? What are you? Who are you? How am I fine? Were you a devil? Unfortunately. Who are you? Batman? Issei said with a grin. Yuma didn't laugh and still looked up at him. Issei sighed. I am still alive because of my own power. I can absorb mass. When I absorb mass, my body gets heavier and tougher. You will find that with each increase of my body weight, my entire body gets harder and harder, tougher and tougher. My body also gains massive strength. Even if you tried, you could not have killed me, period. I am unfortunately a reincarnated devil, though I want to remove such a thing from my own body. I do not want to be a devil, but I have yet found a way to purge this from myself. What do you want? Issei asked, confused. Why would I want anything? Well, you are a guy, I'm a girl, I'm at your mercy. Like a light bulb, Issei's face brightened up as the rush to his cheeks. Oh well, I'm not going to do anything like that to you. All I want is for you to be happy. Well, you don't kneel anymore, he said, offering his hand. I'm not going to hurt you. Yuma accepted the gesture and he lifted her up to her feet, where she gave him a smile. It seemed all her tears were gone. Well, if you did want anything, I would have been more than happy to provide anything you could desire. An NY thing, she said, drawing out the last word to emphasize it. Issei blushed again and rubbed the back of his head. This girl before him did an emotional 360 and turned from a fearing, crying girl to a flirtatious bombshell. Issei coughed. So, what is your plan now? Yuma's face turned to that of worry and seriousness. I don't know, I guess they will find out I've abandoned them on our mission and they will want to hunt me down, though I will still be able to be a fallen angel. I see. Do you have anywhere to go? No, they will still find me. Then you could crash at my place. Really? Sure, I pay for my own rent. My father is kind of hard on a 17-year-old boy, but I've been paying rent since I was 15. He is still shocked that I have a job. Why are you paying rent? Because it allows me to do whatever I want in the house, bring whoever I want over, not that I bring anyone over. My mother hated my father for making me pay rent just so I can be happy. Since my childhood wasn't that great, but my mother got over it as she saw that I had no problem whatsoever and provided the money for rent. Yuma blinked. You have a weird family, says the chick wearing a leather thong with two large black wings out her back. Okay, so if you want, you can crash at my place. I can figure something out for you to sleep somewhere. Actually, my father is turning the basement into a bedroom. It's going to be a massive bedroom and it was going to be for me. Alright, I think I figured it out, he said, pretty much talking to himself during the last half of the conversation. So it's all up to you if you want to live with me for a while or so. Yuma blushed and smiled. I think I will take you up on that offer, but don't you know there are other devils in this town who may not like this? They are nothing. They already tried stepping on my toes. I crushed them with ease, Issei said, waving it off. They wouldn't dare mess with me again. As long as you are in my house, you are safe from any threat there is, Issei said before a thought crossed his mind and he laughed. Here is an idea. I am going to make a new faction, the Juggernaut faction. Lead by me, the Juggernaut himself. I will be a superhero, he said with a giant laugh as he began to make his way home with Yuma. Issei chuckled and shook his head before turning to Yuma. Alright Yuma, you know where I live, right? She nodded. Good, meet me there when you get your belongings. I will figure something out for you. Thank you, but my name isn't Yuma. It's not. It's Rainier. Issei smiled and nodded. Alright Rainier, I will be waiting. I will be there soon, thank you so much, Rainier said, bowing to him and showing off her massive S. Well, this day turned out to be very amusing, and yet I still have no fucking clue what just happened. Either did I just gain a smoking hot chick as a roommate? Dad, I don't need porn anymore. It was nighttime, following the date with Rainier. Issei was with his father, moving his bed down into the basement. They had taken apart the frame and eventually moved everything down to the basement before they began to work on putting it back together. It was around 10 p.m. when Issei heard the doorbell. Issei was about to go up and get it when he heard the front door open and his mother's voice. Hello, can I help you? His mother asked sweetly. He then heard Rainier's low and seductive voice. Yes, I am here to see Issei. My Issei dear, his mother yelled for them and both men walked up the stairs and appeared. Oh hi Rainier, Issei said, smiling at her and rubbing the back of his head. Rainier was no longer wearing a thong, as she was now wearing a pair of black yoga pants and a white t-shirt that did nothing to hide the fact her ass were huge. She was also showing quite a bit of cleavage. "Hi Issei," she said with a smile. "Hi Issei, this girl, who is she?" "This is Rainier, and she just transferred to this town, and I offered her to stay here until she can find somewhere to stay on her own." "Hi Issei," his mother said, shocked. "Why, you can't bring?" His father laughed a bit. "He is paying rent and it was under our conditions. Plus it's not like he's going to bang her." "Dad," Issei yelled out, his face red. "Dear," his mother scolded. "She is right there." Rainier was blushing a bit and stayed quiet. Issei grabbed Rainier by her hand and pulled her into the house before taking her down into the basement, but before he could move, his father called out to him. "Hey Issei." What Issei said, flustered due to the little conversation they had a minute earlier. His dad gave him a lecherous smile and pulled out his wallet. From his wallet he gave Issei a 4-pack of condoms, all in which Rainier could see. "Remember son, use a sock if you get lucky tonight. The basement is quite soundproof with the door closed." "Dad," Issei yelled, blushing before looking back in horror. Rainier had heard and seen the whole thing and she was red in the face as well. Issei groaned and ushered Rainier down the stairs before closing the door. Once the door closed, Rainier began to laugh. "Wow, your family is quite something. I am so sorry that you had to witness that." "It's quite alright," but Rainier said slowly before moving to Issei, leaning into his ear. "I don't like condoms, I prefer natural, and it's good that the room is soundproof. I can be quite the screamer." Rainier grinned, blowing into his ear as she buried his arm between her massive chest before moving backwards, giggling innocently. Issei's face became so hot that if a water droplet would land on him, steam would rise. Issei coughed and tucked his boner between his legs before kneeling down at the bed and beginning to work on fixing his bed, trying to not think about those dangerous words that came from Rainier's throat. Rainier giggled at the sight of him and did get quite an eyeful of the meat between his legs. After about 10 minutes of working on the bed, his large California king-sized bed was made. He has a California king-sized bed because of how tall he is. No other bed could let him sleep on the bed without his feet hanging off, so while he doesn't need the width of the bed, it was all because he was very tall. He sighed and stood up, going over to his dresser before taking out a change of clothes. He placed his shirt and socks on top of the dresser and only grabbed his underwear and a pair of shorts. "I'm going to take a shower. My father said he got the hot water working down here," Issei said, moving through the basement before entering the bathroom. Issei turned on the water and waited for a bit, and sure enough, hot steamy water began to pour from the faucet. Issei smiled and undressed before climbing into the shower stall. He had a Western shower stall down here as he was quite a fan of the Western world. Rainier sat on his bed and removed her socks before rubbing her feet. As she was hearing the water pour, a devious grin spread across her face. From her suitcase, she removed a change of clothes, which was a pair of shorts, socks, and a t-shirt. Yes, she didn't remove a bra or panties, and if one looked, neither of these items were in her suitcase. Period. Rainier quietly moved through the basement before entering the bathroom. She opened up the shower stall door and climbed into the shower behind Issei. "Hey, what are you doing?" Issei demanded, his blush rising. He had turned around and gotten another eyeful of the wide body Rainier had. And while she wasn't bare down south, she was trimmed. There was a landing strip of neat black hair, like an arrow to point where the pot of gold was. "Showering. What else does one do in a bathtub?" Rainier asked, obviously acting innocent to her own actions. "Why, but why are you in here when I am in here?" "So I can shower." "You could have waited." "I could have, but then I wouldn't have been able to wash your back. Like this," Rainier said seductively before shoving her generous chest upon his back. Issei's eyes went wide and his body involuntarily shuddered in pleasure as the soft orbs touched his body. He then felt her rub herself up and down upon his back, and every few seconds, Issei shuddered in ecstasy. She had soaped up her own chest before rubbing his back, cleaning him with those obscene movements. Issei ended up having to lean against the wall of the bathroom as his legs were quivering. Issei was sporting a semi-harden, as he was doing his damn hardest to ignore the fact that she was using her gorgeous body to clean his back. It was then he felt a slender hand gently grip his manhood, gently rubbing him up and down. Issei groaned and screamed, jerking himself out of his stupor as he felt Rainier grabbing him from behind. What are you doing?" "Cleaning you, of course," Rainier said with a seductive smile, looking him square in the eyes as she kept up her ministrations. After about 10 seconds, Rainier cooed and smiled. "Well, it looks like somebody is enjoying himself." Rainier smiled at him. "You need to speak clearly. Why is it Issei is getting so excited?" Rainier teased. Issei gulped and hesitated to answer, but a very firm grip appeared on his manhood and he yelped in pain and pleasure. "I'm waiting for my answer, Issei," she asked seductively and at the same time, seriously. "'Cause you are a girl and I am a guy and you are grabbing on my junk," Issei said, getting some balls and yelling at her as his eyes was closed. "Oh, I see. Does this feel good to you?" she asked, turning him around and placing her chest on his own, still cleaning him with her own hand. "Why, yay. That's a good boy, so honest." Issei shut his eyes and flinched, trying his hardest to think, but God gave men 2 heads but only enough to run one of them. He was already short-circuiting. As if someone was helping him or in his case, screwing him over, he got his brain back online and he pushed Rainier away before getting out of the shower, running to his clothes. Rainier smiled as he ran off, chuckling to herself. "Such a big boy, I think I will be able to enjoy myself," she said to herself. 10 minutes later, it was supper time, and a late one at that. The entire family, including Rainier, was eating dinner, which was hot turkey, gravy, and mashed potatoes. His mother had waited to cook so she could cook for Rainier as well. She was a very awesome mom. Issei was sitting on the other side of the table with Rainier to his right while his father sat across from him and his mom sat across from her. Rainier, however, had her chair scooted very close to Issei, so they looked quite intimate. As Issei was eating his dinner, he felt a very cool and feminine hand on his inner thigh, gently rubbing him as it made its way north slowly and teasingly. Issei's face began to heat up, so he began to eat his meal with a red face, trying to ignore what was happening. In all honesty, he was still trying to figure out why Rainier was doing this, but only one thought came to his mind and it kind of scared him. Rainier liked him a lot. This was scary because his life wasn't very good. It wasn't filled with fun and it was pretty much filled with torment. He had only one friend his entire life and she abandoned him when he was dying. Then after so long, another girl appeared and now she was getting quite close to him. It was just something he wasn't accustomed to. He really had no idea what was going on and it was kind of scary. It wasn't like he hated it. In fact, though he wouldn't like to admit it, he loved the attention. It was making him a very happy man. "Hey honey, are you okay?" his mother asked. "Your face is all red. Are you feeling sick?" Issei looked up and noticed the evil glint in Rainier's eyes, his father's all-knowing smirk and his mother's concern. "I'm fine. I'm just tired." His father grinned. "Tired? Well, I guess you should go to bed soon. I hear a bed is a great place to relax and get some rest among other things," he said, looking at Rainier with a smirk. His father was a fucking pervert and was trying to get his son laid. Best dad ever. Issei finished his meal and excused himself quickly. He had wolfed down the entire meal and washed his dishes before running to his room in the basement, diving into the bed. He turned on the ceiling fan and quickly curled up in his big bed. He had laid out a futon for Rainier as a temporary sleeping situation, so it was on the floor at the foot of his bed. He shut his eyes and tried to get to sleep, but to no avail. He wasn't sleepy. He wasn't tired. He was turned on. This was so not working for him at this time at night. He sighed, and that is when he heard the door open. Issei quickly shut his eyes and got into his sleeping position, on his side facing the wall opposite of the door. He heard the footsteps approaching his bed, but he didn't expect to feel his bed move. Rainier had climbed into his bed. Issei laid very still and waited as if for an eternity, but then he felt Rainier's chest against his back, and she was hugging him from behind. She wasn't touching him erotically like before, but it was like she was just using him as a teddy bear. It was then his mind clicked and he noticed that she was bare. She was naked and hugging onto him. She was nude, naked, all natural. Issei's face heated up immensely. He was going to turn around and do something about the situation, but he heard the sound of sleep. Rainier was asleep, peacefully so. As if this was a lullaby, Issei felt tired as well and began to fall asleep himself, in the arms of a beautiful fallen angel. It was Monday morning and Issei began to wake up. Why did he wake up? Well, there was a weight upon his waist and it wasn't exactly normal to feel such a weight. So he opened his eyes and there she was. Rainier, naked like when she was born. She was sitting on his waist, where he only slept in his boxers, so he could feel her secret wonder against his own. This brought his little soldier to attention real fast. As if it wasn't enough, her big ass were hanging out for him to see in all its glory. Something tells him that she should at least cover up, right? I mean, most girls would scream if he saw them naked. Right. Rainier, what are you doing? Waking you up, silly. Well, it worked. You can get off me now and put on some clothes. Alwa, you don't like my naked body. Whether I do or don't isn't the problem. I don't think females walking around naked, or males for that matter, is normal. Rainier giggled. Oh, you really haven't had any friends before, have you, or a social life? That is not the point, it's just common sense. I think your common sense is screwy. I think your head is screwy. I think we should screwy. I think we're done here, Issei said, tossing Rainier gently to his left, making her hit his soft bed. She smiled and giggled. Alwa, such a poor sport. Well, I would love to stay and talk. I got school and it beats talking to you, Issei said, grinning and standing up before heading over to his dresser. He grabbed his clothes that he wore last night for dinner and got dressed, before heading up the stairs with Rainier behind him. Don't you have school? I may look this young, but I'm actually 20. Oh, I see, Issei said, not really sure what else to say. Geez, an older chick, it's every guy's wet dream, Issei thought. Issei got him a hot ham and cheese toast sandwich, before heading to school eating it. Rainier stayed behind in the house with his mother while his father went out to work. Issei sighed as he finally escaped the clutches of the fallen angel seductress. He walked towards his school, only to be sidetracked when he heard a voice. Issei, wait up. What now, Rainier? I want to come clean about why I was here. Why I was here in this town. I think it's only proper for you to know. Can it wait? Rainier shook her head. My previous comrades are going to kill a girl and take her sacred gear. Issei raised a brow. Take her sacred gear, and I guess you will tell me to stay away from wherever these friends of yours are. They aren't my friends, and no, I wasn't going to tell you that. I want to help you save the girl and stop them. What makes you think I want to help the girl and stop your friends? They aren't bothering me. Rainier glared at him. I know you better than this. You don't know me. You just met me. Issei, yeah, I do want to save the girl. I like this town. It means a lot to me. I'm not going to let anything happen to my town. Rainier smiled and began to pat his head like a dog. Good boy. Issei grabbed her hand and bit her wrist a little roughly, though not enough to leave a bruise or bring. Oh, don't treat me like your pet. Now, where are they and when is the best time to strike? Nighttime and they are at the church on the far hill. Oh, let me ask you something. How does one remove a sacred gear? Issei asked, as he began to head towards the church. We have a complex ritual that would need to be fulfilled. It needs to be on a night with a full moon, at midnight, and proper spells and other magical stuff needs to be correctly done. I see. Could this ritual remove other things? What do you mean other things? And I don't really see why not. We'll just need to tweak the spells. This intrigues me. What are you trying to do? Become human, Issei said before moving quicker towards the church. Rias was sitting in the old school building, drinking tea, when Akino appeared in the room. Rias, I have some information about our Juggernaut friend. Really, is it any good? I think so. It seems he has taken a fallen angel into his household. Rias raised a brow. Really, who is this fallen angel? Did you research why she is here? Yes, it seems there is a group of fallen angels in the abandoned church on the hilltop. I do not know what is going on in the church, but I can sense some dark and evil magics within. Well done, but we cannot make a move just yet. Tell me something. Do you think Issei is siding with the fallen angels? I cannot say for sure. He doesn't seem like the type to do bad things, at least things that would harm the town or others. He is a bit mischievous, though I can sense a bad boy kind of thing from him, but I think he isn't on their side. Either way, I want to keep an eye on him. I will continue with my observations and my investigations. Thank you, Akino. Rias smiled. Issei was standing before the church, feeling the odd feeling that a devil would get from something holy. He smiled and moved to the forest in front of the church, taking a spot in a tree as he observed the church itself. Rainer climbed into the tree and climbed in between his legs, which earned a groan from Issei. What are you doing? Sitting in a tree with you. But why are you up next to me? Because this is the best spot to look at the church and I don't want to sit without something to put my back against. Issei narrowed his eyes at her excuse, though he couldn't call her out on the bullshit as it was a very good excuse, so he just quieted down and closed his eyes to take a nap until night fell. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. Inside the church, a fallen angel known as Kalawarner was setting up the cross that would be used to hold the victim in place for the spell. She was a tall and busty woman with long navy blue hair which covered her right eyes. Her eyes were also brown. She wore a violet trench coat with a wide collar, a miniskirt which matched the trench coat. The top was open at her chest, which gave quite a good view of her ass and cleavage. She also had a gold necklace. She looked around and spotted Donasik, who wore a trench coat and a hat, both gray. Should we still go through with this? Rainer has abandoned us. Donasik sneered at Kalawarner. Of course we go through with this. She was weak. We can still go through with the plan. It will help Azazel after all. I'm not so sure we should be doing this anymore, Middle said. She was a girl with blonde twin tails and blue eyes. She had a gothic-style attire, which was a dress, a black bow on the front, white thigh-high socks, and black shoes. She had a black bow on top of her hair as well. She was very cute and obviously the youngest. Donasik was obviously the new leader. If you want to leave, go ahead, but you won't be able to escape before Fried kills you, Donasik said with a maniacal grin. Middle gulped and nodded. And I know I'm good with going through with this. For Azazel, Kalawarner said, also a bit nervous and scared. Donasik nodded and grinned. For Azazel. It was 11 o'clock at night and Issei jumped down from the tree before popping his neck using his right hand. Rainer flew down with her wings out now and a spear at the ready. You don't have to come with me. I don't want you to risk getting hurt. I won't abandon you. You are my leader now. Leader W, what are you talking about? Let's go, and we need to hurry up before midnight, Rainer said, ignoring Issei's confusion. She kicked open the church door and entered, only to be greeted by Fried Selzen. Oh hi, if it isn't the traitorous slut and her friend. Hey, I'm not a slut, Issei complained, making a frowny face. Fried looked over towards Issei and grinned. Oh, and you are a devil to boot. This will be so much fun. Let's play, Fried yelled evilly before taking out two light swords and charging at Issei and Rainer. Rainer flew back behind Issei and watched as Issei put two hands into his pockets before taking them out 2 seconds later, just as both swords were aimed right at his chest. Dink, what Fried yelled, before slashing wildly. Dink, 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 dink. Each time the swords hit, they bounced off harmlessly. Issei grinned and towered over Fried, who looked up at Issei, who cracked his knuckles. Fuck me. Downstairs in the basement of the church, Donasik was chaining up Asia Argento, the ex-nun who could heal anybody. She was unconscious at the time, with a nice bruise to the side of her head. There was also a red mark on Donasik's left fist. It was then the door to the stairs opened, and down the stairs was Fried. He was tossed down the stairs and he landed on his face before sliding across the floor, unconscious. Donasik, Kalawarner and Middle turned and saw another scene which was just confusing. Falling down the stairs while making random noises, like Bobby McFerrin, only to get up from the bottom of the floor. Flying down the stairs was Rainer, who sighed. You are an idiot, Issei. Well, you're a towel, Issei said with a grin, before turning to the fallen angels and the one unconscious exorcist. Well, what do we have here? The traitor and the devil. Why are you here? Issei shrugged. The Juggernaut saw a party and he was sad he wasn't invited. So Juggernaut crash party and make happy, he said, acting like a dumb brute. Like a barbarian. Donasik glared at the devil. You will leave now or I will kill you. Oh no, whatever shall I do, Issei said, cringing up mockingly, acting all scared. Rainier looked at Middlet and Calawarner. You all need to stop this. This isn't right. Shut up, what do you know, Calawarner? Middlet. Kill the traitor, I will handle the devil, Donasiek said, summoning a light spear before charging at Issei. Middlet and Calawarner bother charged at Rainier, but they stopped when they saw Donasiek instantly grabbed by the throat by Issei. They also watched as Donasiek repeatedly attempted to stab Issei with a spear, only for it to bounce off. What are you? Donasiek yelled out, though a bit raspy. It is not what I am that should concern you, but whom? Who are you? Don't you know who I am? Issei demanded. Donasiek shook his head. I'm the motherfucking Juggernaut. Issei squeezed on Donasiek's neck, instantly killing him as his neck snapped in two. Issei dropped Donasiek to the ground. Juggernaut not know his own strength. Juggernaut a god, Issei said, flexing. Issei then turned to Rainier, who was facepalming. Do you have the other two fallen angels, Rainier, or do you need my help? Remember, Rainier, no quarter given for those who fuck with my town. Middlet and Calawarner both stopped their spears and turned to Rainier. We surrender, Calawarner said. Yeah, we never wanted to do this after you left. We figured if you had the sense to stop, that we should too, but Donasiek threatened us with death. Issei released Asia from her binds and gave her to Rainier, before motioning with his head for her to go upstairs. Rainier nodded and looked at Calawarner and Middlet. I'm sorry, but you both have to pay for your crimes. I'm not the one to let you free, Rainier said, flying away. The two fallen angels watched Rainier fly away before turning to Issei, who was walking towards them, his footsteps ringing throughout the basement. It sounded like cannons being fired. Issei kept moving forward, his presence causing fear to enter the fallen angels' bones. They began to shake in fear as the man who could not be hurt by anything and could crush a neck without even trying, walked towards them. They could tell that he was an easygoing guy for the most part, but mess with his friends, family, or his home, and he goes off like Krakatoa. Please, we don't want to fight you, please let us go. Calawarner pleaded. Please, we didn't want to help him, we just didn't want to die. Cowards, why should I let you live? You threatened my town. Donasiek did, we didn't, Calawarner pleaded. That doesn't matter, you still threatened my town by helping him. It was then Rainier came downstairs and looked at them arguing. Rainier, Calawarner begged. Please help us. Rainier shrugged. Can't help you. Middlet gulped and slowly reached her hand up to the top of her dress before bringing it down her body, revealing her small yet developing ass. Calawarner watched the younger member perform such a seductive and last attempt of pleasing the man before them. She did the same and removed her dress completely, kneeling before him naked, submitting to him like a slave would to a master. Middlet quickly did the same as Calawarner, both of them offering their bodies to Issei. Issei narrowed his eyes in annoyance and sighed. What the fuck is with you fallen angels and nudity? God damn it, Issei groaned and facepalmed, before walking upstairs, ignoring the perverted display downstairs. Rainier, do what you will with them. I don't care, Issei said. Rainier smiled evilly and looked at Calawarner and Middlet, who began to get redressed. Little did he know, Issei was going to regret allowing Rainier this freedom to do what she wanted with the two fallen angel females. An hour later, Issei was sitting on his bed with narrowed, annoyed eyes. Before him was Rainier, Middlet, and Calawarner, all standing before him, dressed in their clothes they had before. What the hell is going on here, Rainier? What, I wanted some company in this house, so I brought these two to live with us. Plus, they owe you for your forgiveness, so you can make them clean the house or something. Aren't I brilliant? That is not the word I would use. Maybe evil genius, Issei groaned out. How the hell did you get my family to accept this? Magic. I made them realize you were growing up and stuff. Oh, fun, Issei said, rolling his eyes. Well, I'm going to take a shower alone this time, Issei said, walking into his bathroom before locking the door. He learned from his mistakes. Now that they are alone, Rainier turned to Calawarner and Middlet. Are you guys okay with staying here? I didn't tell him that you guys wanted to stay with me. Calawarner looked at Middlet and then nodded. We are sure. We have nowhere to go anyway. After what we were going to do, if Azazel found out, we would have been in big trouble. Like chopping block trouble. Rainier nodded. Same boat, Rainier said as she sat on Issei's large bed. Calawarner got a big grin. So, what's the story with you and him? Rainier blushed. You got a thing for him. Well, Rainier said, blushing shyly as her peers looked at her. I could see why, strong, brave, and good-looking. I would be lying if I said I didn't feel some attraction to him. Middlet groaned. So all three of us have to compete for him, she complained. Calawarner and Rainier looked at the young girl shocked. You like him too? Calawarner asked. Well, duh. After seeing what kind of man that one is, of course I would feel attraction to him. So, how are we going to handle this? Rock, paper, scissors. The two older females giggled and looked at each other before looking at Middlet. You sure still have growing up to do, Rainier said, shaking her head. What, I am grown up, Middlet said. You are only 16 and yet you don't know that fallen angels are quite known for sharing, Calawarner said. As sharing, Middlet asked, a bit shocked. Rainier looked at Calawarner before both of them approached the younger member. Yea, sharing. We all share, Issei. That is how fallen angels and devils work, but there is more, Rainier said. Hell, like what? Middlet asked. Calawarner grabbed Middlet and ate her earlobe while Rainier ate the other. We also enjoy each other in the group. Middlet blushed and stammered, only to back away a bit from the two older women. Well too. Calawarner and Rainier all laughed, but Middlet ended all that. I think that sounds like fun. Rainier and Calawarner all looked at Middlet, before they all smiled and nodded. It was then Issei opened the bathroom door and walked in, only for a shiver to tingle down his spine. Something evil is afoot. These women are planning something. Issei looked at all three women before climbing into his bed. Alright, I'm going to sleep now, so if you girls wouldn't mind, you should get some sleep too. I laid out some mattresses on the floor for you girls until I find a more permanent solution, Issei said before turning off his lamp, though there was another lamp in the far corner away which gave the room only a dim light. Issei curled up in his bed and smiled as he relaxed in his bed before he began to fall asleep. As he drifted off to night-night land, he felt the bed move more so than usual, only for 3 different weights to press around all his body. He could only fall asleep as he was held by 3 lovely women. In the Orc clubroom, Rias was looking out the window before Aquino appeared. Rias, I have more news on Issei. Really? Yes. He has taken in 2 more fallen angels into his home, and it looked like he killed the only male. The leader. Yes, it would seem so. He invaded the church and killed one of the fallen angels. There was also a nun there who vanished. It seems that the first fallen angel hooked her up with a hotel room for a few nights. I see. Well, please keep an eye on things. I am getting worried about Issei now. I will keep an eye on him. Thanks, Aquino. Have a good night. The next morning, which was a Tuesday, Issei was waking up to a very interesting situation on his bed. 3 women, all naked, were using him as a pillow of some sort. Rainer used to be on his right side, but she decided that using his crotch as a pillow was a good option. Middle was to his left and Calawarner was to his right, their S pressed right up against his arms and chest. He narrowed his eyes and growled in annoyance, and for a moment he thought of being a good gentleman and staying there until they awoke. Issei moved his body and woke up Calawarner and Middle with his sitting up, sending them onto their backs, their faces near Rainer's ass, their legs spread a bit provocatively, which gave him quite an eyeful of the forbidden zone. He then stood up, which woke Rainer up as her body moved up with him before slamming back down on the bed. She groaned and rubbed her head, looking at Issei, who smirked at her before looking at them innocently. I'm so sorry, I didn't realize you guys were on my bed sleeping with me. Please forgive me, but I have school, Issei said with a bow, obviously acting innocent towards his own actions of waking them up. They all looked at him with anger, but he just smiled at them before getting dressed. He headed upstairs while they were still on the bed naked, before going to the kitchen where his breakfast was already placed before him, like every morning it was. Bacon and eggs with green peppers grilled to perfection. Yes, it was a delicious and healthy breakfast. His mother was cooking some more food, obviously for his father. About 30 minutes later of silent breakfast time, Issei put his backpack on and headed out to school. Luckily, the 3 females in the house stayed behind. He made his way to school in silence, his thoughts on the 3 females in his house. Those girls, don't they know what they do to me? 3 gorgeous naked ladies in my bed, snuggling up to me, showing me their nether regions without any sort of embarrassment at all. They are lucky that I have such control over myself. I'm a man, for fuck's sake. They need to be more careful. Women need to be more careful, he thought to himself, only to find himself almost smacking right into the school door. He shook his head and entered, heading to class. He sat down in his seat once he reached the classroom, before looking out the window with a blank face, obviously in thinky land. Damn, I knew I forgot something. Those damn fallen angels. I forgot to make myself human. I suppose it's not a total loss. The church and cross should still be there. Just need them to help me remove these damn evil pieces and become human again. Being a devil isn't all bad, but I want it to be my own decision to become a supernatural being. Plus, I don't want to outlive my loved ones. He was woken out of his thoughts by the female Kaneko, standing before his desk. He turned his head towards her and gazed up at her with a bored expression, looking at her own blank face. Can I help you? He asked, obviously tired and just wanting to think. You are requested to be in the old clubhouse after school. The student council and my master would like to speak with you. Issei raised a brow and grinned before waving her off. Yeah, I'll check my schedule, he said, basically telling her there was no fucking way he was going. Kaneko went back to her desk, not pushing the issue. She was only told to tell him to come. She wasn't told to force him, not that any of them could force him even together. The class ended quite anticlimactic, with nothing of significance happening. It was just a boring day of class. It was nearing lunchtime, but there was just one more class before lunch. However, with a 10-minute break, it was a very easy change into the next class. Very relaxed, Kaneko went over towards her master, Rias, and stood before her. What did he say? He will check his schedule. I thought as much. I guess we will go with Plan B, Rias said, sighing before heading to her own next class. Issei got up from his seat after the class emptied and made his way to the next class. He was thinking about his actions in the church before, remembering how easily he just up and killed someone. He didn't feel any guilt or remorse for doing it. It was easy for him. Am I really that cold? I really thought I was an easygoing guy. He then thought about killing Rainer before he shook his head violently. There is no way I could kill one of my friends, no way. He then thought of killing just an homeless man before shaking his head once more. It has to be only people who are evil, like pure evil, so I'm a killer. Didn't see that coming, Issei thought before sighing and entering his next class. The next class ended very uneventfully, so it was lunchtime now, which Issei was quite into. He loved food. Food was love. Food was life. His mother was known for packing the greatest lunches ever. She made them for her husband and for Issei. They were absolutely delicious and they changed every day. I mean, he got the same dishes once in a while, but she would always try something new. He was excited to see what today's menu would be. As he sat down and opened up his bento box, his lone table in the corner suddenly got crowded as Rias and her peerage sat down across from him. Thought Kiba sat next to him. Then there was Sona and her queen who sat down as well with the queen on the other side of him. He raised a brow at the sudden intrusion of his mealtime and he looked around at them. He decided to ignore their presence and dig into his meal, very excited to see what was in store for his taste buds. "So Issei, how are you doing?" Issei finished his mouthful of the delicious food, known as chicken stir-fry, which had all types of bell peppers inside, grilled mushrooms and grilled onions. He then looked at Rias, who spoke to him. "I'm doing fine. I'm eating lunch, so this should be obvious," Issei said before taking another big bite of food. "Right, let's get to the point. Why, I want to know what the fallen angels are doing in your house and what are you doing with them?" Issei finished his meal and looked at Rias before smiling at her. "That is my business alone. What happens in my house is my business alone. None of this concerns you, so butt out," he said, not happy with the prying. Rias growled at him, which got him to look at her as he ate a spoonful of chicken. "It is my concern. This is my territory you are in, whether you like it or not. So it is my concern why there is enemies in my town being harbored by some devil. Well, that's for you because I don't give a damn," he said, continuing his meal before stopping after the next bite. "But I have no plans of destroying this town. This is my home and my family is here, so I am here to protect it. Those fallen angels are in my house and are causing no problems to the town. In my bed, that's another story," he said, and everyone noticed that he wasn't exactly happy when he said the last part. He sounded very annoyed. "If they are causing issues, why not remove them from your house and town?" Sona asked. "Because they had nowhere else to go. They went too far in their plans and there was a good chance if they returned, they would not be treated nicely. Probably killed. So, I took them in and gave them a second chance at life. They didn't go through with their plans, but they were going to until I stepped in and removed the male fallen angel. The first fallen angel is too nice to go through with this, I guess. I dunno. These females are weird," he said, sighing. "Are we done here? I want to finish my meal before it gets cold." Rias and Sona shared a glance before nodding. "That's fine, we were done anyway. We just wanted to figure out what you were doing with fallen angels. Enjoy your meal," Rias said, leaving with everyone, leaving Issei alone. Issei sighed and rubbed his hair before finishing his meal in silence, his thoughts on the talk he just had. The school day ended and it was quite boring after lunchtime. Nothing happened, no one really talked to him and the devils left him alone. He was already home and when he entered his room in the basement, he stopped suddenly and stared at the scene before him, shocked. Middlet, Calawarner and Rainier all were sitting on one of the mattresses he laid out on the floor, watching television. It seemed they had hooked up an HD TV in his room, but this wasn't what was shocking. What they were watching was the problem. They were watching one of his dirty porn movies, which he could have sworn were in his old room, hidden under a loose floorboard that he found. Issei quickly got a hold of himself and rushed in, turning off the TV, which earned cries from each of the girls. "Hey, we were watching that," Middlet said. Calawarner growled at Issei. "You could have said you wanted the TV for yourself. That was very mean, Issei. You could have just watched it with us," Rainier said. Issei quickly ejected the DVD before placing it back into its box. "Why the fuck are you watching one of my DVDs? How did you find it? Why are you watching something like this?" Rainier giggled. "Because we could, because we're good, and because it was interesting." "So, this is what you like, Issei? How you did say it was yours." Shut up, Rainier. It's my father's HMPH. The three girls laughed together, looking at him. "Such a naughty mind you have, Issei. Did you imagine tying us up like that?" Middlet said. "And using us to your heart's content, while we were helpless," Calawarner replied after. "Before filling us with your hot seed until we leaked," Rainier followed up. Issei was red in the face. "I said shut up, it's not mine, GAH," Issei said before running upstairs. He was so red in the face that they all knew that they were right on the money. Rainier grinned at her two cohorts. "Well, that was very enjoyable." "Indeed, though I will say, I enjoyed the video. It looked fun," Calawarner said, shrugging. Middlet scratched her head. "Why isn't Issei screwing us right now?" Rainier blinked and looked at Middlet. "What?" Middlet asked. "I'm just saying, he has 3 hot girls, waiting for him to take us from behind like animals, yet he hasn't done anything. It's like he doesn't notice we want him." Calawarner and Rainier looked at each other before rolling their eyes. They just figured it out. Issei is not noticing that they want him. They all then shared a devious grin and were about to open their mouths to discuss their options and planning when Issei came down the stairs. They all turned to him and he coughed. "Rainier, I think it's a good time to do what I originally planned to do in the church now." Rainier blinked and woke up out of her perverted mindset when she remembered he wanted to become human. "Oh right, we forgot about that. All right, let's go then." "Wait, he wants to become human?" Calawarner asked. Rainier nodded. "I'm not sure why, but he does." Calawarner tilted her head in confusion but shrugged. "All right, I guess it's possible to remove the evil pieces from him. I'm willing to try it." All 3 girls and Issei made their way out of the house into the church. After about a 20-minute walk in silence, they arrived at the church. Issei went in first and the fallen angels were about to when they felt a familiar power. Calawarner turned to Rainier and Rainier nodded. "He's here probably to start another war. I think we should hurry." Rainier said. "Only Issei can stop him." "Do you really think so?" Calawarner asked. He is going to become human again, so he will definitely be at a disadvantage." Rainier shook her head. "No, I think Issei is stronger than what we've seen. Something about him. I think he may be the strongest being in existence." Calawarner shrugged and entered the church with the other girls, heading down into the basement where Issei was putting himself against the cross and hooking him up into the chains the best he could. The girls quickly went to work and tightened the chains to his body before going around the cross with magic circles, changing the spell circle around the cross to a different formula and such. It was very dark magic, not fallen angel or devil in nature, but more of a magic itself, but dark and forbidden. After about 10 minutes, the 3 girls nodded and all 3 activated the magic circle, which began to send energy into Issei. Issei cringed and began to violent shake, screaming in pain. The energy was coursing through his body and it felt like he was being ripped apart from the inside. "Stop the magic, he's going to die," Calawarner said. Rainier nodded, but Issei glared at her. "Don't you dare stop this, I am not as weak as you girls think I am, keep going," he screamed out, half in pain. The spell continued for over 10 minutes, and they watched him writhe and scream in pain as the red energy coursed through him. It was then they watched as 8 pawn pieces were ejected from his body and shattered once they contacted the ground. The fallen angels looked over at Issei, who was panting and slumped against the chains. Rainier quickly ran to him and removed him from the chains, letting him use her as support. "Are you okay, Issei?" Issei nodded. "Did it work?" Rainier smiled. "Yeah, it did, you are human again." "Good, good," Issei said with a smile before standing up. His energy was already regenerated and he was back to his normal self. "All right, let's go home." "Actually," Calawarner started. "What?" Issei questioned. "Kokabiel, one of our old leaders, has appeared in this town," Middle said. "So, he's a war lover," Rainier said. "It is most likely he is going to start the war again in this town, destroying it in the process." "Alrighty then, let's go," Issei said, sighing as he moved to leave the church. All 3 girls nodded and quickly followed him. At Q Academy, Rias, Kaneko and Zenovia were the only ones standing against Kokabiel, who was standing on the ground with a cocky smirk on his face. Kiba and Akino were unconscious and bleeding, though it wasn't fatal. "How pathetic, is this really all you have? Rias Gremory, you are the sister of the great devil king, Sirzechs Lucifer, yet this is all you have to muster, pathetic." "Shut up, I will not have you insulting my brother," Rias roared, shooting off a massive block of energy. "TCH." Kokabiel reached up with a hand and blocked the attack, but as it was taking up his entire vision, he didn't see Zenovia right next to him, swinging her blade until it was almost to his face. He was much faster though and reached up with a hand and gripped Durandal before moving it to the side. He then turned and shoved his fist into her gut, forcing her to cough up before he kicked her away, taking her out of the fight. "My turn," Kokabiel said with a grin, moving towards Kaneko with an insane grin. He formed a spear of light and kicked Kaneko in the gut before using his other hand and forcing her to kneel before him. He raised his spear of light and thrust it down towards her. She shut her eyes and awaited the quick death, but nothing came except a grunt. She opened her eyes and was astonished at the sight before her. Issei was holding onto the wrist of Kokabiel, not even struggling, as the spear was only an inch away from penetrating her chest. Issei looked down at her and smiled. "You all right?" Kaneko nodded. "Cool," Issei said before turning to Kokabiel. "Who the fuck are you?" Kokabiel demanded as he struggled to get out of the grip of Issei. "Depends on your answer." "Wait, no it doesn't, but I'll ask anyway. What are you doing in my town and what are your plans?" "I am going to restart the war between the 3 powers, and I will start by rampaging through this town." Well then," Issei said, snapping the wrist of Kokabiel without even trying. Kokabiel screamed in pain, but not before a fist in his gut sent him flying across the courtyard. Rias and Kaneko all watched, eyes wide at what was happening. A leader-class fallen angel was being beaten back by a human. Issei was human now, as they noticed. It was then Rainier, Middleton and Calawarner all flew down from the sky, appearing in everyone's vision except Issei as his back was to them. Kokabiel turned to the 3 fallen angels. "Help me kill this meddler." The 3 fallen angels shook their heads. "Sorry, but we don't serve you, we serve him. He is our leader now," Rainier said. Calawarner nodded. "Your time is up. You were the worst leader anyway," Middleton said. "You traitorous cunts, I will kill you," Kokabiel said, flying at them, ignoring Issei. As Kokabiel summoned a spear of light and prepared to attack, he was thrown onto the ground by Issei, who at his foot. Once Kokabiel connected to the ground, everyone heard the sickening crunch of the back of Kokabiel's skull caving in and breaking. It was the sound of a fatal wound. If left alone, Issei had dealt a blow that would incapacitate a god. Issei had so much strength and power that even God would be wary of the power. Issei was serious. Issei continued his attack by pulling Kokabiel up before punching right into his chest, breaking every single rib. Kokabiel coughed up a massive amount of and was teetering on unconsciousness before a palm in his gut sent him flying into a tree. As Kokabiel was slowly slipping into unconsciousness, he saw a strange man nearby, sitting on a chair. "Finish him," echoed through the school courtyard. It was a deep voice. Issei blinked but only hesitated for a second before grabbing both arms of Kokabiel, standing him straight up with arms spread out like an X before shoving both arms into his body. He made Kokabiel look like a Trex. Kokabiel screamed in pain, and just as he slipped into unconsciousness, Issei grabbed his mouth with both hands and ripped his jaw apart. Basically, his mouth was completely open without any hinges. "The Juggernaut wins fatality," the man said again before disappearing in black smoke. Issei turned around and walked out of the courtyard, aware that Akino, Kiba and everyone watched him destroy Kokabiel without even breaking a sweat. Rainier, Middleton and Calawarner were all behind, mouths agape at the power Issei had shown. They didn't even notice the fact that during the fight, Issei left footprints in the solid ground until he walked away, which left none. 30 minutes later, Issei was home and already showered and began to climb into his bed when the 3 fallen angels finally made it downstairs. He turned to them and smiled before curling up in his bed. The 3 girls were nervous now, seeing such power coming from him. If Issei had wanted to, the 3 girls would have never stood a chance against him. Issei chuckled. Shocked I had so much power, he asked, turning to look at them. All 3 nodded silently. Don't worry so much. I won't hurt you girls or anyone unless you mess with my friends, family, or my home. So rest assured I won't hurt you. The 3 girls nodded and undressed silently before climbing into bed with him. All 4 fell asleep quite easily. Issei is an unstoppable being of immense strength. When in motion, becomes even harder to stop. He becomes heavier with each increase in power and his body gets harder to hurt with each increase in weight. Issei is the Juggernaut. It was said finally, and it was about 10 o'clock in the morning. Issei was still in bed, sound asleep. There was no one else in his bed at this hour, despite the fact that the females in the house all sleep with him for some odd reason. He slept in because it was a Seri, a day of relaxation, a day of doing nothing but lazy shit. Yes, Seri, the day of the gods. It was a few minutes after 10 that Issei began to awaken from his slumber, his body relaxed and in complete bliss. He opened up his eyes and a big smile came across his face as it was the first Seri in the new house. It was going to be a good day. He had the whole day planned out on Friday night, a few hours after falling asleep with the girls. He had woken up for some odd reason, used the bathroom, and then a giddy smile fell over his face as he looked at the clock. So yay, Issei had his set planned out and he was going to have the most fun he could. The fun, you ask? It's called just being lazy. Issei headed upstairs, and while he smelled the sausage, eggs, and bacon, he knew it wasn't for him. He entered the dining room and kitchen, smiling. Morning, sleepyhead. His mother called. It's your usual Saturday morning. I didn't make you any breakfast, but I left a bowl and spoon out for you. Thanks, Mom. Where are the girls? His mother blinked for a moment and looked at her son. I'm not sure. They were here 25 minutes ago. Strange. His mother commented before going back to her cooking. Issei's father came into the dining room, smiling like Issei. Ready for the marathon in 10 minutes? His father asked. Issei nodded and smiled. Yes, I've been excited ever since they announced it on the radio. All right, well, hurry up and get in there, dear. Is my breakfast ready? His father asked. Of course, hun. You do know that all this meat is going to kill you, right? What a worthy death it will be, his father said, taking the plate of food into the living room with his son, who had a bowl of sugary cereal. They quickly sat on their respective places on the sofa before his father turned on the TV and relaxed with his feet on the sofa's footrest. Issei, on the other hand, just laid back with his footrest and munched on the cereal, watching the Saturday morning shenanigans of a yellow-haired ladies' man. Rainier, Calawarner, and Middle were all currently outside the house, walking around the town. They were out shopping together as they needed things for their living situation. Truth be told, all 3 of them were also shopping to get some items for Issei, more along the lines of lingerie and other naughty clothings. What do you girls think? Would this look good on me? Rainier asked, holding up a pair of black panties that would barely cover the bare necessity. Calawarner looked over and nodded. Yeah, it does, though I would want mine in purple. Middle blushed a bit. I'll take a pair too. Geez, Rainier, you really have an eye for these things. Rainier smiled. What can I say? I fell for a reason. Rainier chuckled out before grabbing 3 pairs of the panties, though one was in a dark purple, and paid for them. As all 3 walked outside, Rias Gremory was waiting outside, looking at them with indifference. Obviously, she didn't trust the fallen angels in her town. Where is Issei? At home. He was sleeping last time we checked. Rainier replied. Middle nodded. What is with that? He was sleeping and so late. How can anyone do that? Calawarner shrugged. He's human. They have different customs than we do. Take me to him. I want to talk with him, Rias demanded, showing off her princessy attitude. Rainier shook her head. Sorry, I don't think he would want to talk to you. You are quite rude. Just tell me the message and I might relay it to him, Rainier said, giving Rias a smile, though it was filled with quite a lot of hostility. She did not like the princess attitude Rias carried, thinking she was better than everyone else. Even though Rainier used to have that way of thinking, she no longer thought of herself as better than everyone. Why, you? Rias glared, her eyes beginning to glow before Aquino appeared, putting a hand on her shoulder. Not here, Rias. Too many witnesses, plus we don't want to gain his ire. Rias growled and nodded, before sighing. Tell Issei that he is requested at the school tonight by 2 of the Devil Kings due to his actions against Kokabiel. We'll see, Rainier said, giving Rias a wave before walking off, chuckling to herself. Calawarner and Middle looked at Rainier with a puzzled look. Did she just say the 2 Devil Kings? Middle asked. Yes, Rainier nodded. I also wonder what they would want with Issei exactly. Are you going to tell him? Calawarner replied. No, I don't want to ruin his set with telling him someone is demanding he be somewhere. The other 2 females nodded and began their trek back home. Rias was back in the Orc Club room when Aquino spoke up. Do you think they are going to tell him? I hope so. I mean, it is the Devil Kings. Surely if they requested him, even the fallen angels under Issei would be quite fearful if they didn't tell him. Aquino nodded. I sure hope you are right. Why is it they are holding this meeting so soon? It's only been a day after the attack from Kokabiel. Doesn't it seem that it is way too soon? Rias shrugged. I suppose so, but I guess the three powers are confident in this and want to get it over with. I guess. Issei was currently sitting with two older males on his couch, all three of them hunched over playing some shooting game from the Western world. They had 3 TVs and game systems hooked up, so they were all online shooting people. One of the men was his father, the other was a black-haired man with golden tips, who also had quite a mischievous face and attitude. Yes, this was the man that Issei went to get his powers under control. As the game ended, his father put the controller down and smiled. Well, I had enough of the lazy Seri. It was fun, Issei. You take care, Mr. Azazel. I'm glad my son had such a good teacher, his father said, disappearing into another part of the house. Azazel and Issei laid back and took a drink of their water, though Azazel had whiskey, before Azazel turned to Issei. So, how is the tubes working for you? Just fine. I haven't had any issues. It's been a long time since I've seen you. You live over here now. Well, I have some business in this town, so I guess I live in this town for the moment. I heard of your name being here, so I looked you up and here you were. All grown up. Issei smiled. It's really been a long time, Azazel. Azazel nodded. That it has, Issei, so tell me, how was your encounter with Kokabiel? Issei blinked and put his drink down, turning to Azazel, who had a very mischievous look about him. What are you talking about? Kokabiel, the fallen angel you killed last night. I don't know what you're talking about. Issei denied, going back to his video game. If you say so, Azazel responded, picking up the controller again. They queued up for a match, only to find each other on opposing teams. Azazel and Issei found each other fairly quick and began to have a firing match, trying to shoot each other and use cover. It was then 6 black wings appear from his back and block Issei's view, only for Azazel to kill Issei. Issei dropped the controller in shock, slowly turning to Azazel with wide eyes. Azazel smirked at Issei. I won. Issei blinked and narrowed his eyes. Who are you? You never heard of Azazel, one of the leaders of the fallen angels? Of course not. I never followed the Bible. Wait, you are a leader. That's right. You know, for a smart cookie, you really didn't know that I was a fallen angel. I was so young I had no idea about the supernatural world. Sheesh. Yay, calm down. So tell me, Issei, what did you think of Kokabiel? Azazel said, picking up his controller while putting his wings away. Issei picked up his controller and both began to game again. A few seconds after gaming, Issei spoke up. Strong, arrogant, annoying. He wanted to start a war in this town, and I like this town. I live in this town, as do my parents and the people I care about. I showed up after my friends told me about Kokabiel and what his intentions were most likely. So I showed up and saved one of Rias' servants from death by a light spear, Issei said, before sniping 3 people in rapid succession with his semi-automatic sniper rifle. Issei took a quick drink of his water and went back to his prone position as he camped a good location for kills. He told me his plans, and since he said he wanted to have a war in my town and basically destroy it, I killed him. Simple as that, Issei said, taking a few more shots and killing a guy who wanted his flag. Azazel, on the other hand, was currently sneaking up behind Issei, getting into the same spot to kill Issei. I see. Well, I can't say I approve of you killing him since he was a leader, but he did have it coming. Oh well, I suppose in the end it didn't matter. I would have had him frozen for the rest of time anyway. He overstepped his boundaries. Just as Issei was about to respond, the front door opened and he could hear the voices of his female roommates. They all appeared in the living room and Rainer dropped her bag in shock. Azazel, Rainer screamed out, fear entering her body. Azazel turned his head for a moment, gave them a mischievous smile before going back to gaming with Issei. Oh, you son of a, Issei yelled out as Azazel placed C4 on his virtual body and blew him to pieces. Oh, hi Rainer and friends. This is Azazel, leader of the fallen angels, Issei said, giving a half-hearted blind wave to Rainer as he revived in game and went out to hunt his friend. Why are you here? Rainer asked. I live here, Issei replied. Not you. Then say whom? Rainer narrowed her eyes. I don't like you. I'll get over it. Azazel chuckled and shot Issei in the face with his machine gun before turning to Rainer. So this is what happened to my long-lost fallen angels. Didn't go through with your insane plan to get on my good side. Issei stopped us, Rainer said. Did he now? How well. Let me tell you that your plan would have gotten you killed if you ever returned to the underworld after completing it. You were smart to never return, period. I am not here for you though, I was just here to visit my friend Issei. As long as you girls behave yourselves here, I don't have any issues. Rainer, Calawarner and Middlet all nodded in fear. Good, Issei, I have to go. I got some work in this town to complete. Issei stopped his game and gave Azazel a manly hug. All right, be safe. It was really good seeing you again. Azazel nodded and disappeared in a flash of light, leaving the 4 teenagers alone in the living room. Shall we watch a movie or two? Issei asked, which all 3 nodded. About 6 hours later, it was 7 o'clock. Rias was currently walking towards the meeting room in the school, knocking before entering. As she entered, she surveyed the room. There was a large crescent-shaped table. On the closest side to her, Sirzechs and Serafal sat with Sona and her peerage waiting behind them. Rias moved over to where Sona was. On the far side of the table was Azazel and some bad boy-looking teen who had light blue hair. On the outside of the hump of the table was Michiel, leader of the angels. Irina was standing behind Michiel. Shall we begin? Azazel asked, and the leaders all nodded. Michiel looked around the room a bit, scanning. Wasn't there supposed to be one another person here? Yes, the one who killed Kokabiel was supposed to be here. Issei Hyoudou was his name. Sirzechs said. The guy who made a fool out of my Sona. Serafal said. When I see him, I'm going to make him apologize for hurting my Sona. Please don't, Sona said, not happy with her sister. Oh, but Sona, can we please stay on topic? Sirzechs said. Oh yes, Issei Hyoudou, Azazel said. I did meet him earlier this afternoon. We played some video games. Sirzechs, Michiel and everyone minus the boy behind Azazel turned to Azazel with eyebrows raised or jaws dropped. You know Issei? Sirzechs asked. Very much so. We met when we were younger and I trained him to hone his abilities. We became friends. Why can't I have friends? Sirzechs stared at Azazel. No, it's fine, just surprising. Why didn't you just tell Issei to come to this meeting? Rias asked suddenly. Azazel smiled his trademark mischievous smile. I must have forgotten. Rias growled and glared at Azazel, hating the attitude of the fallen angel leader. Let's stay on topic, shall we? Let's just make peace then, that is what we came here for, right? It was about 8 o'clock in the Hyoudou household. Issei was sitting on the sofa with the 3 girls, who all were somehow snuggling him, Middleth on his lap, Rainier on his right and Caliwarner on his left. They were watching a disaster movie about a volcano in Los Angeles. It was very cheesy, but it was a good movie nonetheless. They were quietly watching the movie, content with each other, when a rapid banging on the door was heard. It sounded very urgent. Issei looked over at the door and sighed, lifting Middleth off of his lap before moving to the door. He opened the door and stared into the face of Kiba. Where's the fire, Kiba? Issei asked, rolling his eyes. I need you to come with me now. Why would I do that? We need you at the school, please. We are under attack. Under attack by whom? Terrorists. Please come quickly. All right, geez. Take it down a notch. My parents are sleeping, I think, Issei said, turning to Rainier and the others. I have to go, you 3. Something is going on again in this town and am being requested. Wait for us, Rainier exclaimed, turning off the movie and running behind Issei, who was sprinting with Kiba back to the school. Issei increased his speed and caught up with Kiba, who was going very quickly, though slow enough to lead Issei. What is going on exactly? We were having a meeting between the 3 great powers about peace. 45 minutes later, we were attacked by an army of magicians, and then a descendant of Leviathan appeared, threatening to kill all the current devil kings. Okay, then why am I needed? You guys should be able to handle it all on your own. We can't. The magicians are causing problems. There are too many of them, and all the great leaders are using their powers to hold up a barrier, as several members have been injured from a preemptive strike. Issei frowned and kept on going, seeing the school getting closer and closer. Who requested me? No one. Well, you were supposed to be at the meeting with us. I was never told this. My master told your fallen angel friends the message, but I guess they never told you. Typical fallen angels. Well, they didn't have to tell me, and honestly I would have just ignored it anyway. We figured as much, but we tried. They all arrived at the school, albeit Rainier and the other 2 females arrived much later, winded as well. Kiba quickly made his way back into the main room, only to see Azazel and Katlia taunt each other and prepare for battle. Just as Kiba walked in, everyone turned to him, but only because they felt a big vibration. It sounded like an elephant was walking. Boom, boom, boom. It was then the double doors to the meeting room was blown into the room, and Issei walked in, looking at the scene before him. Knock knock, Issei said with a big grin on his face. Issei, Rias called out. Why did you come? Kiba fetched me. Told me that you guys need some pest control, Issei said, walking forwards towards Katlia. Who is this human? Spoke the arrogant Shedevil. Issei smirked and stood his ground. Don't you know who I am? Issei asked, cracking his knuckles. Katlia quickly turned to Issei and shot out a massive demonic energy blast, hitting him square in the chest and face, which exploded on contact. What a nuisance. Now where were we, Azazel? Katlia asked, only to find herself on the ground as a chair smacked her in the back of the head. She turned quickly with a snarl, only for her eyes to go wide as Issei stood there. I'm the Juggernaut, Issei roared out before running right at Katlia, who quickly got up and shot 2 more powerful blasts, all of which exploded but did nothing. Everyone moved out of Issei's way as he tackled Katlia through the wall into the hallway before stopping suddenly, which threw Katlia into the next wall, forcing a humongous Shedevil-shaped dent in the wall itself. You insolent boy, how dare you touch me? I am the descendant of the great Leviathan. You do not deserve to touch me. Issei's fist crashed right into her gut, forcing her to spit up and bile, before sending her to her knees. Blah blah blah. The Juggernaut has no time to hear you rant, and Juggernaut's ears hurt from bad woman. Juggernaut, make woman shut up, Issei spoke out, using his Juggernaut persona again. He grabbed onto Katlia by the back of her outfit before tossing her through the ceiling, in which she landed through the ceiling in the meeting room onto the big table, crushing it. She slowly and wobbly got up, before she glue in black. Her aura and power had increased. Why, you fucking human, how dare you interrupt me when I am speaking? I will kill you, she yelled out, but she was stabbed in the back by a light spear from Azazel. Katlia coughed up immense amounts of before looking back at Azazel. You coward. No, you are the coward for being a terrorist. You are a coward for preemptively striking the younger members of our crew. Now be gone, Azazel said with venom, increasing the power of the light which eradicated Katlia from existence. Azazel turned to Issei and smiled a bit. Sorry to take your spotlight there, Issei. I had to end it. That's fine. I had no issue with you stepping in. Issei said. Before Azazel or anyone could speak, Issei was struck by a white ball of energy, which exploded on contact and sent Issei outside of the school and into another part of the school, which collapsed right on top of him. Azazel turned and saw Vali, the White Dragon Emperor, who was the guy he had with him at the meeting. Vali, why? Because they gave an offer I couldn't refuse. Vali said. This side looked more fun anyway. Vali said. Balance breaker. Vali was covered in his stark white armor before flying out of the school. Just as he exited the school and was about to fire several balls of energy at the occupants of the meeting room, Vali was struck out of the sky by a large portion of a wall that had collapsed on top of Issei. Juggernaut, displeased with Dragon Boy Juggernaut smash, Issei roared out before charging at Vali, who charged back. Vali sent his fist clad in his armor straight into Issei's face, who took the hit like it wasn't even shit. Vali reeled back in pain, but not before Issei's own fist was sent straight into Vali's gut, destroying the armor and forcing Vali to cough up and bile. Issei had increased his strength again by ing up more power from his tubes. He was about 8,000 for Catalia, but for Vali he was at 12,000. Vali smirked under his armor, but not before Issei moved before Vali could react, as Vali was in pain. Issei sent a hammer fist into Vali's shoulder, sending Vali to his knees. Issei continued his onslaught by shoving Vali onto his stomach with his palm on the side of Vali's head, which pressed down and destroyed the helmet, while simultaneously cracking Vali's skull. Issei quickly tossed Vali into the air before sending his fist once more into Vali's gut, though a bit higher, which cracked several ribs while forcing immense amounts of bile to spew out of Vali's mouth. Issei then grabbed onto the leg of Vali and tossed him across the school grounds like a rag doll. Sirzechs, Michiel, Azazel, Serafal, Rias and her peerage, and Sona and her peerage all watched the carnage that Issei brought about. The magicians had been wiped out by Vali prior to Vali's betrayal. Dear God, Michiel spoke out. That human is a monster. Azazel laughed out. Issei Hyoudou's power is unlike any other power there ever was. He is a unique existence. His power is utterly impossible to know how far he can go. Every time he s up matter, his weight increases, as does his strength and defense. When he gets any sort of momentum, the defense increased and his weight becomes something scary. He is like a train when he runs into you. Sirzechs shook his head. I'm very happy that he is on our side then. Rias shook her head. He isn't on our side, but he isn't on theirs. He is on his own side and does what he wants to do. I tried to get him to join my peerage, but he refused. He obviously enjoys doing his own thing, and there is nothing wrong with that. So far, he has never posed a threat to us, Azazel said. Michiel nodded. I think we can all agree that we are lucky he is fighting for us at the moment. Vali was tossed once more across the field, as he was panting hard. Where are you? I've done no damage to you whatsoever. What are you? I'm the Juggernaut, Issei grinned, flexing his muscles. He had taken off his shirt, shoes and socks prior to engaging Catalia. Is that so? Then I wonder if you can handle something stronger. The Juggernaut drive. Sorry about this, Vali, but we gotta cut this short, spoke a voice from above. Issei and Vali looked up, only for a man who kinda looked like a monkey came from the sky. From the monkey's hand, a poke swung out and struck Issei upside the head with a loud clang, but Issei didn't flinch or move. He looked at the new arrival and stared at both of them together. Well, it looks like you had quite a tough opponent. I would love to help, but it's time. Already, Vali asked before sighing. Fine, this isn't over, Hyoudou, Vali said before slowly sinking into the ground, which was a void of blackness. Issei narrowed his eyes in annoyance and ran towards them and jumping right into the void as it disappeared. Azazel blinked at the scene before laughing. They are so screwed. Azazel laughed out. Where did he go? Rias asked. He beat the system that the monkey boy, Beku, used to transport. At the final moment, if you time it right. Anyway, can use the teleportation. So, Issei is currently with them wherever Beku took them. Will he come back? Sure, this is his town. He will come back sometime, Azazel said, shrugging. I suppose we should wait for a while. Shall we finish up this meeting then? Michiel and Sirzechs nodded and everyone took their seats, though there was no more table. Beku laughed and looked at Vali as they exited the darkness behind them. You really got your ass kicked, huh? Yes, I did. I was surprised. Someone who surpassed me and is only a human. Well, just be glad that we escaped. Oh, don't be so sure that you escaped, spoke a voice from the darkness. Both of the men turned and out walked Issei, who smiled at them and cracked his knuckles again. Well, aren't we a persistent one? Beku asked, getting into a fighting stance, as did Vali. Issei was no longer looking at Beku and Issei's eyes were focused on an object in the window on the second floor. It actually wasn't an object, but a person. Issei's eyes narrowed dangerously and he began to walk forward towards the figure. The figure in the window was a girl who was about 16 in looks, though her body was quite underdeveloped, very similar to Kaniko's. She had long black hair and gray eyes. Beku and Vali both turned to what Issei was looking at, before looking back at Issei, who pushed past them before he started to run. The figure had moved away from the window and left the window. Issei growled out and sprinted before jumping up and crashing through the wall. Offis, Issei roared out in anger, running through the house. He noticed that Offis was using magic circles to escape, walking through the walls quickly. Issei roared and began to run through the walls, his speed gaining on the girl that abandoned him long ago. Vali and Beku both raced after Issei and Offis, trying to chase down Issei. Who the hell is this guy? Beku roared out. He's just running into the walls and breaking them down with his head. Who the heck have you made an enemy out of, Volley? I don't know, but he looks like fun. Offis stopped in a large living room, turning around and looked at the wall behind her. Not long after, the wall was busted down and Issei began to skid to a stop, stopping barely right before Offis. Offis looked up at the tall Issei, who glared down dangerously at the girl. Biku and Volley both arrived to witness a staring match between the two, anger, betrayal, frustration and happiness displayed in Issei's eyes. There they were, two super powerful individuals in their own rights, though only one knew the other was powerful. The other was quite clueless about the female before him. So there they were, staring at each other. The male had a very intense glare while the female had the emotionless stare, looking up at the male. There was also two other men in the area, watching the two superpowers go head-to-head in a staring contest. One was the White Dragon Emperor, Volley, and the other was Biku, ancestor of Sun Wukong. Both of them were watching, curious about the current interaction between the pair. Offis looked up at Issei and Issei looked down at her, both of them in complete silence as Issei's stare bore into her soul, attempting to read the female before him. Offis, on the other hand, was currently just looking up at Issei, with no emotion, at least to the outside world. Inside, Offis was pleased that her first friend was alive and well. "Hi, Issei," Offis said monotonously. Issei's eyes narrowed dangerously, glaring even more intensely at Offis. There was a silence for 2 minutes before Issei reached down and plucked Offis up, slinging her over his shoulder and turning around. "You are coming with me," Issei spoke as he picked her up. Offis nodded. "Okay," she replied. Issei walked past Biku and Volley, heading through the holes in the walls, just walking right through each hole. Volley and Biku turned to watch Issei leave with their jaws open in surprise, only to see Offis wave goodbye to them. Volley was quick and turned into Balance Breaker and charged towards Issei before striking Issei in the side of the face. Issei stopped after the hit, though he was unfazed by it. "Right, you are still here," Issei spoke. "Shall we finish our little fight then, cause I have business to attend to?" "You are not leaving with her," Volley spoke, getting into a fighting stance. "I will activate the Juggernaut drive to stop you if I must." "You cannot win," Offis stated. "I leave now with Issei." "You stay," Offis stated. Biku walked over behind Issei and looked at Offis. "Do you know this guy?" "From many years ago, yes." "Goodbye," Offis said, opening up a magic circle for Issei and her, who stepped into the magic circle and disappeared. Volley turned to Biku and deactivated his armor. "So Offis knows him, so that is why she went with him. That's weird, she was never attached to anyone. Obviously they have a history together. I mean, did you see the way they stared at each other? Intense," Biku said with a laugh. "She is a big girl anyway. She can handle herself, and if that man is with her, then she will be more than safe, I suppose." "All right, I guess we should get to repairing this place," Volley said. Issei and Offis finally reappeared outside of the school on the school grounds, which was used as a battlefield. Tiba and Rias was first to greet him, coming down from the meeting room. "Issei, you're back," Rias stated. "Obviously," Issei said, confused at why she would say the obvious. "Who is that on your shoulder?" "An old friend who has some explaining to do. Now if you will excuse me, I have to handle my business," Issei stated, walking off from the pair, heading home. Azazel, Sirzechs, Michiel, and Serafal all moved to the window, their eyes wide. "Is that Offis?" Sirzechs exclaimed. "I do believe it is," Azazel said, a smirk on his face. "Why is she on Issei's shoulder?" Michiel asked. "Does he not know who she is?" Sirzechs asked. Azazel shook his head. "I don't think so. He is showing no signs of fear or any sort of emotion except urgency, anger, and sadness. I need to have a speak with him then. This is an opportunity of a lifetime," Sirzechs stated, moving to leave the school grounds. Michiel nodded. "I shall go as well. This is something that could affect heaven after all," Michiel said, following the Devil King. Azazel and Serafal fell in line and all left to go find Issei. Issei arrived home, and when he opened the door, Rainier attempted to hug him, though she ended up slamming into his rock-hard chest, so she fell to the floor in pain. "Shit, you should remember to remove your power, you jerk." "Ah, sorry," Issei said, placing all his power back in his tubes, feeling much weaker than before. He then continued his way into the house, going to the stairs. "I need to be left alone for a while. Me and Offis here have to have a talk," Issei said, walking up the stairs quickly. Rainier's eyes went wide, as did Calawarner's and Middelt's. "Did he just say Offis?" Rainier asked, a bit shaken. "Yeah, that's the infinite dragon god, isn't it?" Calawarner asked. Middelt nodded. Yes, it is. What do we do?" Rainier gulped. "What can we do? Warn him. I think out of all of his, he would be able to survive an attack or two from her, at least if he knew it was coming." All three looked up the stairs and heard the door shut and lock, before all three gulped in worry and anticipation. Issei gently tossed Offis onto his bed, in which he turned around and took off his socks and shoes, placing them in the corner of his room. He then turned to Offis and crossed his arms, glaring at her, not sure what to say first. "Been a long time," Offis stated. Issei grunted and growled a bit. 6 long years, 6 years, Offis," Issei yelled out before he calmed down. He quickly summoned a spell from his limited knowledge of magic and placed it on his parents' walls, so no sound can enter their room. 6 years, Offis, since I've seen you. 6 long years since you abandoned me, Issei yelled out, glaring angrily at Offis. Unknown to Issei, Rainier, Middelth, Kalawarner, Michiel, Azazel, Serafal, Sirzechs, Rias and her peerage and Sona and her peerage were standing in the hallway in the house, listening in. Why did you leave me, Offis? Why did you leave me when I was dying? You were dying. Nothing I could do. You could have called 911 or something. Offis shook her head. Nothing could have saved you. You were too weak and you were being killed by your own powers. Then you could have stayed by my side when I died like a true friend. What are you saying? I wasn't your friend at all. Offis shook her head. You were my first friend. I never had a friend before. Issei stopped his yelling and took a deep breath, calming down as he was yelling at Offis, who wasn't even getting angry or upset. She was calm. So, you never knew how to act in a situation that you were given when a friend was injured or dying, huh? Offis nodded. Issei sighed and sat on his bed, sitting next to Offis. All right, I'd forgive you then. Are we still friends? Do you want to be? Offis asked, looking at Issei. Of course you were my first friend and no one wanted anything to do with me back then. You weren't afraid of how different I was, so you stayed by my side. You don't know how happy I was back then. Offis nodded and looked up at the ceiling. She was sitting on the bed with her feet on the bed as well, while Issei had his feet off the bed. So, do you want to be friends with me? Issei asked. Offis nodded. I will always be your friend. Even I was happy when I made a friend. Everyone I know was afraid of my power and never wanted to approach me other than to use me for my snakes. But you approached me. But you were the only one who wanted to be my friend. Well, yeah, I never knew any of these supernatural stuff or anything back then. I was a little kid, so I jumped at the idea of having a friend back then, especially one who would play with me all the time. We played every day at the same time at the same park. We had dinner together, remember? Offis nodded. I remember. We had steak and baked potatoes. Issei nodded. And chocolate ice cream with a cherry on top. Issei said, chuckling. I had a lot of fun with you and I've missed you so much. It's been lonely without you for the longest time. I will be your friend still. Issei turned over and hugged Offis tightly, who didn't hug back, since she was still learning. Thanks. Wait, you said people are afraid of your power. What are you? A dragon. Really, a dragon? How are you like that white dragon I fought earlier? Offis shook her head. Stronger. Issei nodded. So you knew about my powers back then? Is that why you said something about me being strong? Offis nodded. I did, but you didn't know you had powers, so I never mentioned it again except when you were dying. Issei nodded. Outside the room, Sirzechs was looking very concerned and surprised, staring at the door before him, which was Issei's room. He had heard everything from the pair, listening to them interact. Everyone was surprised to learn that Issei was in fact friends with Offis and actually hung out with her when they were kids. We have had visitors for a while now, Offis said, which meant she knew that Sirzechs and the others were waiting outside. Come in, Rainier, Issei stated, only for the door to open and show Sirzechs and Azazel and all the others. Oh, it's you, Azazel. What can I help you with and how did you get in my house? Issei asked. And who are the rest of you? Oh, and hi, Rias, Issei said, waving. Rias waved back weakly, a bit scared of everything that has been going on. Issei, do you know who she is? She is your sister, right? Younger sister, I assume, and who might you be? I am Sirzechs, one of the current Devil Kings, but I was talking about my sister. I was talking about her. Sirzechs sighed, pointing at Offis. Yes, she's my friend. What of it? Issei, that girl is a terrorist and an evil dragon. She is the leader of the Chaos Brigade, Rias exclaimed. Azazel nodded. The girl on your bed is the strongest being in existence, Offis, the infinite dragon god or the Ouroboros dragon. Issei turned to Offis and tilted his head, looking at her. She is the most powerful. Offis nodded. Huh, cool. I got the most powerful being in existence as a friend, Issei stated with a big smile. Rainier appeared and coughed. Issei, what these guys are trying to get at is that she is a bad person and you need to get away from her. Offis may have her flaws, but she isn't bad, Issei stated, getting up from his seat. I don't appreciate you coming into my house, into my room, spying on my conversation with my long-lost friend and then accusing her. We aren't lying, Issei. She founded the Chaos Brigade and gave them all snakes. She is the reason that Catalia got a power-up, Rias exclaimed, trying to reason with Issei. She is the enemy of everyone, Issei, Sirzechs stated. For the good of our alliance, since you have made peace with us, you need to kick her out and remove her from your life. Issei's eyes narrowed dangerously as his eyes also flared with anger. How dare you, Issei started, snarling out now as he placed his hands on the tubes, sucking up all the power stored. How dare all of you come into my house, barge into my room, and then you dare tell me that I need to leave my friend because of something my friend did? How dare you? You have no right to come into my house and start drama with me or my friend. We're having a nice conversation, catching up, and you threaten my friend, Issei spat out, his fists clenching now as his house creaked under the weight of Issei's body. Michiel came out from behind and placed both hands up to calm Issei. Calm down, young child. We aren't here to hurt you or your friend. We just want you to understand the situation. Shut up, Angel, Issei spat out, his eyes flickering over to Michiel. I understand the situation completely. She said all she has done was give out snakes. She never once actually caused a true problem yet, as the Chaos Brigade just started making trouble. The only thing truly that she has done with her snakes was destroy part of the school due to Catalia and the invasion. Since that is all of her crimes, I will forgive her for it because it was minor. Minor, she destroyed a lot of my school, Sona huffed, getting a bit angry. Get out of my house. All of you. Thou. That includes you, Azazel. I never once joined your alliance, so don't you dare clump me into the likes of you all. You are all bunch of accusing assholes. Get out of my house, and if you ever come to my house and threaten my friends again, including Rainier, Calawarner and Middelt, Issei said, before opening his eyes wider and showing off all his anger, I will not hesitate you bring you down. Now get out of my house, Issei roared, his anger flaring greatly. Azazel was first to leave, following by Sirzechs, Serafal, then Michiel, then Sona, leaving only Rias and her peerage behind. Issei, I wasn't trying to threaten your friend, I was just saying she was a bad person for what she has done so far. And I get that, Rias, but you came here with the intent of the others, to get me to betray my friend. Leave, Rias. Talk to me tomorrow if you wish, but you will leave now. It is very late and I am not happy. Rias sighed and nodded, walking out of the house as well. When the house was further emptied, Issei turned to Offis and smiled. I won't let anyone hurt you or remove you from my life. Offis nodded and had her head tilted, studying Issei. Unknown to Issei, Offis's heart had skipped a beat or two during the entire conversation with the leaders of the forces. It was Sunday morning and Issei was finally waking up from his slumber. He had a huge smile on his face throughout his entire sleeping session, and he woke up with the same smile, except only bigger. It was really only a smirk when he was sleeping, but when he woke up, he was smiling big time. Why, well, yesterday, Issei caught up with his first friend Offis. Offis was the first friend he had ever made, even though she abandoned him long ago. He forgave her, of course, and was so happy she came back to him. He knew his life had improved from the get-go when she returned. When Issei woke up, he sat up and realized he wasn't alone in bed. Offis was sleeping with him, though she was sleeping at the foot of the bed with her hands crossed over her chest like a dead person. He laughed softly at the sight and slowly made his way out of the bed, stretching his body and popping his joints, which made him moan out in pleasure. He sighed in happiness and got dressed before silently making his way out of the room and down the stairs for breakfast. As he made his way downstairs, he was greeted by his mother and the smell of bacon. Hey dear, what is this about Offis returning? I found Offis again, she and I have reunited. What, that's wonderful, honey, I'm so glad she returned, though I do not like she disappeared on you in the first place without any warning or anything. Not even a letter to keep in touch, but you seem to be much happier now, so I'm glad she's here. Rainier coughed as she was eating her breakfast with the other two females at the table, and Issei turned to her. Yes, how come you never told me about Offis? It never came up. You would think it would be important, wouldn't you? Rainier asked. Is it? I certainly don't think it is. Now, you two are friends. Just stop your fighting and make up. Mom, Issei yelled out, blushing. Sorry dear, your father has gotten into my head, it just came out, sorry about that, Rainier. His mother quickly apologized. Rainier was blushing like Issei was, but she shook her head. No, it's quite all right. Obvious slip of the tongue, Rainier said, smiling to Issei's mother. If only I was able to do such a thing with Issei, though. Sigh. Issei quickly sat down and began to eat his meal, silently of course. He was so flustered with that slip-up from his mom. He was beginning to have feelings for Rainier, and actually had a crush on her from the first time he met her. He never acted on it, of course, because he was afraid. He was afraid that she would reject him like everyone rejected him because of how he was different. This was a deep scar in his heart and wasn't on the surface. Breakfast finished and Issei was getting his shoes on when Offis appeared. Where are we going? Actually, Offis, could you stay behind for the day? I need some time to myself. I know it's been a long time since we met, but I've been planning for an alone day for a while. I promise when I get back, we can do whatever you want, okay? Offis nodded. All right, Offis said, heading to the living room. Issei appeared in the living room and looked at Rainier, Middelt and Calawarner, who looked at Issei as Offis appeared. Can you three watch over Offis and do something with her, like watch a few TV shows or movies? Get to know her, okay? I know you guys fear her, but trust me, she doesn't want to hurt anyone. Rainier sighed. Fine, we will watch over her, but you owe us big time. Yay, put it on my tab, Issei said, leaving the house. Issei made his way through the town, looking at what this town had to offer for entertainment. He was having fun beating up people, but he really did like to do other things too, but he hasn't had time to see if this town had to offer anything other than opponents for him to beat up. He ended up finding a movie theater, which is great as he hadn't really been to a movie theater in a long time due to moving and then all the things that had happened in the town. As he went up to the girl behind the glass to order a movie, a voice made him curse whatever deity decided to give him such bad luck. Issei spoke a seductive voice. It was Aquino. What are you doing here? Issei said, sighing as he turned to the big-head hottie. Aquino smiled and walked on over, looking up at the movies that they were playing. Want to watch a movie? Why else would I be here? All right, let's go and watch something. Issei scratched his cheek. Actually, I would rather watch something by myself. Today is the day that I would do things alone. All right, so I suggest we watch this one. It's about a foul-mouthed beanie baby who was given the ability to talk after a little girl wished upon a star on Valentine's Day. Issei narrowed his eyes and sighed internally, cursing the deity once again. So, where's Rias? Aren't you two like best friends? Aquino frowned. I don't want to be at the club room today. Rias is having problems and I can't watch her go through it. What is the problem? Issei asked before he silently cursed himself for being so nice. He was brought up by his parents to care for others in pain. She's being forced into a marriage she doesn't want to do. Issei tilted his head. I thought in this day and age, forced marriage had finally stopped. Not for devils, Issei. This isn't the human world. How do you want me to step in? I think I can stop the marriage. I think I just need to beat up the suitor right. Well, you can do it that way I suppose, but what are you offering? Rias is a very kind girl. Sure, she kind of attacked me without reason before, but that doesn't bother me. I don't want someone kind as her going through something like that. It's akin to rape, isn't it? And well, I've been having thoughts anyway about the fact that while I'm in the supernatural world, I've made my own faction. I thought I should be a bit more open to truces or whatever. Akino chuckled. So you are a faction now, are you? Damn right. I am the Juggernaut and I am in my own faction. My house is my country and I own it. That's how it is. Akino giggled a bit and nodded. I see. Well, if you are really serious in helping out Rias, I will take you over. I would be very grateful if you did, as her suitor isn't someone you can't like very easily. Issei nodded. Well, I would rather not get involved in someone else's business. I do think that what is happening to her is wrong. I do want to get to know her more, as she tried to get closer to me and I pushed her away. I want to get to know all of you more, to be honest. I'm just a bit cautious with my friends, Issei said, now walking with Akino towards the school. Akino nodded. I heard from your parents, so I understand. We have all went through dark pasts, well, except Rias really, but the rest of us, we all went through very dark pasts. And if it wasn't for Rias, we may not be here. Issei nodded. I understand. She is someone that you are grateful to have met, as she was the defining moment in all of your lives. That is why I couldn't let you guys take Offis from me. She was the first one to accept me for me. I couldn't let her be hurt. Akino nodded. I understand. She is like Rias in the fact she helped you be where you are. I think if it wasn't for her, I may not be here. I may have been too depressed, and well, you know. Don't you ever think that way again, Issei. Akino said, this time very seriously. I won't, I swear, Issei said, a bit frightened from the quick change in Akino's attitude. Akino smiled. Good. I think we were all too harsh on Offis. The Chaos Brigade only just began being a nuisance, and now that she isn't with them, I think they lost quite a bit of power. Issei nodded. She has done wrong before, especially to me, Issei said, holding a hand over his heart. But she is not like you and I. She is emotionless. Now that I know who she is, I understand why the way she is. She never had the opportunity to experience life like we did, and now I'm giving her the chance to do so. Akino nodded. They had both began to enter the schoolyard. Well, I am very glad that you both are happy to find each other. As long as you guys don't cause trouble for the devils, I am behind you too 100%. Thanks, Akino. Don't mention it, sweetie. All right, well, here we are. Go do what you do best. Smash, smash. Akino giggled out, walking with Issei into the Orc Club room now. Akino opened up the double doors and Rias quickly rose to her feet at the sight of Issei. Rias was sitting on her desk earlier, her face depressed as she looked through papers. Issei, what are you doing here? I heard you could use a hand, Rias. I thought as a show of goodwill, I will assist in your problem. Issei said. Akino smiled from her spot next to Rias. Why are you care for Rias and you are doing this as a friend? I don't know what you are talking about. I don't have any problems. Rias denied. Before Issei could speak up, a red circle appeared. Phoenix Kiba from the couch spoke. He had stood up finally. Flames appeared from the magic circle and a tall man with short blonde hair and dark blue eyes appeared from the flames. He wore a red shirt that was open at the front with matching pants and black shoes. He also wore a white dress shirt underneath, also open at the front. And Riser has once again returned to the human world. It's been a while since I've been to this filthy world, and I've come all this way to see you, my beloved Rias. Issei blinked and stared at this man. What arrogance. He is so fucking arrogant. He speaks in third person like that when I do it. At least him goofing off and battle this guy does it, period. Oh, this is going to be fun. Issei took a step over towards Rias and Riser, his arms crossed across his chest. Riser turned to Issei as he felt Issei staring at him. Can Riser help you, boy? Issei cracked his neck and Rias looked at Issei getting ready to attack. Before Rias could say a word, or could Issei, a gray magic circle appeared and a lady in a maid outfit appeared. Grafia, what are you doing here? I'm here to make sure there is no trouble today, as I know you would be against this. And she has every right to be, considering you would be forcing this nice young lady to marry this arrogant bastard. How dare you speak about Riser like that without looking at him? I wasn't speaking to you. Please stop interrupting. Issei said. Grafia looked at Issei and tilted her head. And who might you be? It doesn't matter who I am. I am here to make sure Rias is free from this marriage. I do apologize, but you have no control over this. Her family and Riser's family are the ones who arranged this marriage. Issei smiled. I think I have more pull than you realize. Even if I have to beat the snot out of this bastard, she will not be married to anyone she doesn't want to. I have not known Rias for too long, but I have realized she is too nice of a girl to go through this. Issei said, walking closer to Grafia with menace in his steps. Issei put his hands in his pockets and sucked up all 20,000 pounds. His footsteps began to crack the strong wood below his feet. The wood below was designed by devils to withstand high power. Grafia smiled sorrowfully. I'm sorry, but I am here to make sure that there is no trouble. There will be no violence today. You will not touch him while I am here. Then I guess you should listen to these legendary words of the West move. Get out the way, Issei stated, bringing his right up across towards Grafia. Grafia's eyes glowed white and Issei was frozen solid. Issei Rias screamed out. Akino, Kiba and Kaneko all got into a fighting stance, seeing Issei being dispatched so easily. I warned him, Grafia spoke. The boy should have really known who he was speaking to. Like, who does he think he is? Akino clenched her fists and growled out. He is the Juggernaut, you. So much for being unstoppable. Riser spoke out arrogantly. Sona walked into the room quickly with her entire peerage. What was that power spike? What Issei? What the hell happened? This human trash attempted to hit Grafia. She killed him by flash freezing him. Riser spoke. I apologize. I will make sure his parents will have forgotten him, Grafia said, bowing to Sona. I don't think you realize what you have just done, Grafia, Sona said, pushing her glasses up closer on her face. I don't follow. It was then a bright pink magic circle appeared on the ground. Oh no, Sona spoke, fear entering her tone. Sona, I found you. What are you doing here? All I get is an interrogation. Where is the hot, steamy, lovey-dovey sister scene? How? Why are you so cold? Why are you here? You are so mean, Sona. Well, Sirzechs told me to come here as backup for Grafia. Backup for what? Grafia asked. Grafia looked very confused. Sona, Rias and their peerages all looked at where Issei stood, only to see the ice surrounding his body was steaming. They all then pointed at Issei, so Grafia, Riser and Seraph all turned towards Issei's body, only for Issei's right hand to continue on its path, and it grabbed onto Grafia's throat, lifting her into the air. It took quite a while for me to absorb nice power you have now. It's my turn. Issei snarled out before spinning in the air with a 360, before tossing Grafia through the reinforced walls of the orc room, sending her skidding across the ground, creating a humongous fissure in the school grounds before she crashed through the reinforced walls of the school and began to crash through several classrooms and their respective objects inside. Hey, what is the meaning of this? Seraphal exclaimed, swinging her magical stick at Issei, attempting to hit him with very powerful ice magic of her own. However, Seraphal's leg was grabbed by Issei before she was tossed in the same general direction, but she ended up creating her own fissure and hole in the wall of the school. Sona, Rias and their peerages all stood watch as two Maus were tossed around like ragdolls. Riser's eyes were wide and full of fear before he was subsequently tossed outside as well. Issei walked over to the hole in the orc room and smiled as he turned his head back. I won't kill them, so don't worry, Sona, about your sister, but I will teach them all a lesson. Don't stand in my way, Issei said before leaping off the orc room. Sona, Rias and their peerages all quickly moved to the wall that was no longer there, looking outside as Issei approached the school. The two kings looked at each other and both nodded, wearing a smile now. You trust him, right, Rias? I do. He won't kill them. I am happy he is on our side. I think we are all seeing a change in the world. The Juggernaut is going to shape history. As am I. You know he is doing this for you, right? I know he may not admit it, but he's doing it for me and I am so grateful. Sona smiled and looked out once more, watching the incoming carnage. Back at the Hyoudou household, Offis and the Fallen Angel trio were now watching a movie. Offis was staring intently as a couple on screen began to make out on their way to the bed. She was so engrossed in the film that even the Fallen Angel trio stopped watching and looked at her. Rainer looked at them with a what the fuck face. They shrugged to her. Rainer gulped and smiled. Hey Offis, what is so interesting to you on screen? Offis pointed at the screen. Why are they doing such a thing? I've seen people do it often, but I never understood why. It seems pointless. Well, it's called ing. Rainer spoke up. Two people in love do it as it shows they care for one another. Ing, yes, that is called ing. You never had someone before, you never had a lover. No, Offis said easily and bluntly. Rainer, seriously, she is the infinite dragon god, of course she never had a lover. That would have been recorded in history as like the most shocking thing ever, considering she is an emotionless dragon. Plus she never interacted with people until recently, Calawarner said, smacking Rainer in the back of the head for her stupidity. Hey, don't hit, I was just asking a question, sheesh. Offis ignored the two fallen angels bickering before pointing at the screen. On screen, the couple was engaging and quite graphic. That is called, Middle said matter-of-factly, is what two people do when they are in love, Rainer said with a smile. It is the ultimate form of showing they love one another. Stop feeding her lies. That is only partially true. Offis is also for pleasure too. It doesn't have to be for love, just to feel immense pleasure. Middle said. Pleasure? Offis asked. Calawarner chuckled. I think we should teach you quite a bit about this, Offis. What do you say? Okay, Offis said, looking at the three fallen angels who smiled deviously at her. Issei cracked his knuckles as Grafia fired a massive blast of ice energy from out of the school, hitting Issei once more with this blast that was so much more powerful and wide range. Issei took the blast and absorbed it, smiling as his strength and defense increased exponentially. It was then a pink blast of demonic power struck Issei in the side, but it did nothing but make Issei become a steaming pile of awesomeness. Seraphal appeared next to Grafia and both were glaring at Issei. Who are you? Grafia demanded. Yea, who are you to attack me? I am a real magic girl. Issei for a moment was struck silent at the strange female's attitude, seeing her a bit childish, but turned back to his battle mode. My real name is unimportant, Issei spoke, before spreading his arms wide as a purple barrier appeared around the area. It had the symbol of infinity. Offis, I knew she was a bad girl, Seraphal said. I should have never let her get away so easily. Actually, Offis just gave me the power to erect a barrier so no one can interrupt us. She isn't actually here, just at my house. What, you have Offis at your house, you traitor? Grafia snarled it, summoning a large magic sphere of ice doom. Traitor, I am no devil. Remember, I am no traitor to anyone, and if you must know, the three great powers have allowed Offis to stay at my house. Grafia's expression softened. Sirzechs shook her staff and hit Issei again with a powerful magic attack, making Issei's body create massive amounts of steam. So you were the big meanie who beat up my Sona. Sona attacked me first and we are both over that. Maybe it's time for you to let it go. No one embarrasses my Sona like that, only I can, Sirzechs said, charging Issei and thwacking him in the head with her staff. This actually sent Issei flying across the school grounds, sending him into the nearby pool, which exploded and all the water evaporated. Sona sighed and blushed red, embarrassed at her sister's antics. I'm sorry, Sona, you know she loves you. A little too much. Why isn't Issei trying to beat them up anymore? Kiba pointed towards the school. It was Rias who was trembling in fear. That's why I don't think he really wants to hurt the two females in front of him. His intention was never to hurt them but to hurt him. I think he realizes that Rias is extremely afraid of Issei right now, so he's trying to make peace with them, though it doesn't seem to be working. Rias smiled. So, even though he could defuse this situation with violence, he really doesn't want to. Akino nodded. He told me he wants to try and be more peaceful with the three great powers. He wants to try and be more friendly and maybe make a treaty or peace with them. He doesn't want harm to come to his friends or family, so while helping you is part of him caring for you, Rias not beating up Grafia. And the Devil King is trying to be peaceful. Rias looked at Akino. You got him to come here, didn't you? Akino smiled and closed her eyes. I don't know what you mean. You are one clever, aren't you? Rias said with a chuckle. Thanks, Akino. I don't know what you mean, Rias. Akino said before giggling. Rias rolled her eyes playfully and continued to watch. A magic circle appeared next to Issei, who was finally out of the pool. It was the symbol of Phoenix. Grafia looked at the circle, then at Issei. I thought the barrier was supposed to not allow people to interfere. That's what I thought. Oh, the barrier is gone. I'm not a very good magic user, Issei said, rubbing the back of his head. What is this commotion about? This is taking way too long. Where is my brother? He was supposed to have grabbed Rias by now, spoke a blonde-haired girl. She turned her head to the sound of cracking knuckles and she looked up at Issei, who was quite a bit taller than her. Well, what do we have here? Issei spoke, lifting up the girl by her dress. Put me down, ruffian. Do you not know who I am? I'm assuming the little sister of the arrogant bastard, right? Well, look at your big brother now, Issei said, turning Ravel and himself towards where Rias was, only for a massive fire fist to crash into Issei's chest. Unhand my sister, Rias roared, only for Rias to roar in pain as his fist crashed into Issei's chest. Rias's hand was completely crushed. Issei reached over and grabbed Rias by his face, squeezing him until Rias dropped to his knees. Issei gently placed his sister on the ground. I have no beef with your sister, Rias. Just you. I have no beef with Grafia or the strange magic girl. I'm not strange. Stop interrupting, Sona yelled out. But Sona, Issei sighed and rubbed his face in annoyance. It seemed everyone he met who was a devil was weird. What is your name, little girl? Ravel. Leave me brother alone, Ravel said, kicking Issei in the shin with a fire foot. Issei had removed his power greatly, so Ravel wasn't going to hurt her foot really. Of course, it was more than enough strength to defend against the Phoenix fire. Issei had gone down to about 8,000 pounds. Issei smiled at the little girl. While I respect your brother for trying to save you from me, and I respect you for the same, your brother is an arrogant little bastard, Issei said, releasing Rias, who fell onto his butt. Issei stood over Rias and narrowed his eyes. Rias, you are a strong young devil, right? Leave Rias alone. You are a man as well. A man would never force himself on a woman like that. This marriage is for the good of all devils. That is not true. It isn't good for her nor for you. You will never truly be happy with Rias at your side, hating you day in and day out. You will never get her love or her respect. You are a man who wants to be respected. I know this, Issei said. Ravel was no longer kicking him and listened. Call off the marriage. I don't want to see my friend in pain. It's why I stepped in today. She is hurting because she is being forced into a loveless marriage. As a man, I am asking you to leave her alone. Ravel was listening to these speech by Issei and her face was blushing up. She had noticed through her kicks that her power wasn't hurting him, and she noticed that when her brother attacked, he was in massive pain from just striking Issei, yet she wasn't. She knew Issei had lessened his defense so she wouldn't get hurt. But she was blushing because someone was talking sense into her brother and showing him right from wrong. A true man was before her. Rias looked angry and frustrated, so he looked away. Rias, will you back off? Yes, I give. Thank you, Issei said, reaching his hand out towards Rias as a peace offering. Rias accepted it and Issei pulled him up. I want you to find love, Rias, and think for yourself instead of having your family do it for you, Issei said before looking at Ravel. The same goes for you, little girl. The name is Ravel. Sure, Ravel, Issei said, giving her a smile. He turned to Sirzechs and Grafia. I'm done here. I have no more reason to stay here. I'm going to catch a movie. We cool. Grafia was now back in her proper stance. I believe so. I will let Sirzechs know of the outcome. I apologize for the trouble today, Grafia said before disappearing in a white circle. As Issei turned to Sirzechs moved quickly and hit Issei on the cheek before winking. I will be back, Mr. Juggernaut. Don't you forget about me, Sirzechs said before disappearing in a pink circle. Issei blinked and looked very confused. The fuck? Issei spoke out before turning back to the orc clubroom. He jumped up to Rias and them and smiled. You are free now, Rias, so my work here is done. If I hurry up, I can get to the last showing of the movie. Bye, Issei said, removing all his power and sprinting out of the clubroom, rushing to the movie theater. Rias was crying a bit, tears falling down her eyes. Tears of joy. She was also blushing. She was going to have to thank Issei for what he had done. Akino smiled at seeing this. Rias has a crush now on the Juggernaut. Sona sighed and looked at the school, annoyed. She left with her peerage as she mumbled about how hard getting the school fixed would be. As Issei arrived at the movie theater, he quickly fell to his knees as he saw he missed the last movie. He looked up into the sky. "No, he screamed, obviously in despair. He hit his fist on the ground and stood up, obviously upset. I knew it. I could never have a day to myself. Why do I have to suffer the most around here? What did I do? Haha, tell me, you evil god that has decided to shine upon me." Issei roared into the heavens before he made his way home. As he reached his house, Issei's eyes narrowed as a chill went down his spine. Something evil was afoot. Issei stood still for a moment as the chill on his spine intensified as his hand touched the doorknob. He knew something evil was going to happen tonight in this house, but what would it be? He figured it would be Rainier causing issues, as out of the 3 fallen angels, she is the troublemaker. He wasn't angry at her per se, but she did get on his nerves, yet he knew that she cared for him. Issei sighed and opened the door, walking into the house. "Welcome home, dear. Did you have fun at the movies?" his mother asked. "I didn't get to go. I got sidetracked by a friend of mine who needed some help." "Friend? Oh, the red-haired female. I'm sorry that your day to yourself was ruined, dear. I made you your favorite dinner though." "Thank you, but I was okay with the day," Issei said, walking into the kitchen after he put his shoes away. He took a seat at the dinner table and his mother placed his meal before him. "There is cake in the freezer if you want any. Have a good night, dear," his mother said with a smile, waving as she headed up the stairs. "Thanks, Mum." Issei ate his meal and finished a piece of the ice cream cake before heading to the basement. He walked down the stairs and turned the light on, before digging into his dresser for a new change of clothes. He had given himself a good smell, and wouldn't you know it, fighting woke up a sweat. As Issei climbed into the shower, Offis was gently pushed into the basement by 2 pair of hands, before an evil giggling was heard as the basement door was closed. Offis walked into the basement and spotted Issei behind the steamy glass door. She stood there watching him before she undressed from her gothic outfit before opening the shower door and climbing in behind Issei. Issei stood very still as he felt a breeze. He then felt a presence was behind him, so he slowly turned around. As he did, he was suddenly pulled down by a pair of very strong yet slender hands. He bent over as he was forced, and a pair of soft lips met his. Issei's eyes went wide as saucers as he spotted the female in him. It was Offis. Issei was released and his eyes never once returned to his sockets. "Oh, Offis, what are you doing?" I like you," Offis said, pulling Issei into another who was still stock-still in shock. Offis' best friend was Ingham. Offis deepened by pulling his neck closer to her, and she stuck her tongue down his throat, in which he moaned involuntarily. His body began to react to the heated and he began to sport an erection. Offis released Issei from and she looked up at her friend who she cared for deeply. Offis had gone through some thinking through the day after Issei had left to be by himself. After talking with Rainier and the other fallen angels, she released her feelings for Issei were more than just friends. She had never felt this way before, as she was never really approached unless they wanted power from her. Issei was the first friend to look beyond what she was and accepted her as a friend and as a person, despite what she wanted to do. She wanted to return to the dimensional gap and still does, though she admitted deep down she really wanted to stay with Issei too. Offis had studied under the fallen angels, studied their techniques and understood more about what couples do. So, she was going to get Issei to be with her. She wanted to stay with Issei more than anything, even more than returning to the dimensional gap. Issei looked down at her and slowly knelt down to be at face level. "Oh, Offis, I don't understand what brought this on. I like you, so I wanted to. You did I do something wrong?" No, you didn't, just was surprised." Offis moved her lips closer towards Issei and pressed her lips gently against his own, not being as rough and forceful as she was before. Issei responded to the by pushing himself a bit forward, hitting Offis back as well. Offis smiled slightly, feeling Issei respond to her feelings. Offis remembered more about what the fallen angels had taught her, so she slowly reached her hand forward and grasped Issei's manhood, which got Issei to moan into her mouth. Offis rubbed him softly and gently, getting him harder and harder in her hand. Offis released Issei's lips and looked up at the tall man, who began to stand up. Offis nodded and she gave him the soap, in which he finished up cleaning himself, though she helped him with his back. When they finished, Offis waited patiently as Issei dried himself, and when he put the towel on the rack, she grabbed his hand and rushed out of the bathroom, slightly dragging Issei with her. Issei was blushing madly and his mind was racing. He was pushed onto the bed, though he never noticed it as his mind was reeling from all that was happening. "I do like Offis a lot, she's cute too, but should I be doing this? Isn't it too soon? What if I'm not good enough?" Issei thought before his train of thought was completely cut off as his brain shut down because of an alien feeling entering his lower body. He looked down and his mind was wide as he looked down at Offis, who had taken his manhood into her mouth and began to inch her way down upon his impressive length. Issei let out a moan from his throat, a bit animalistic as Offis began to bob her head upon his length, looking up at him now with her innocent eyes. Issei groaned and rested a hand upon her head for a few seconds before stroking her hair softly, in which she let out a content sigh and continued her ministrations. After about a few minutes, Issei had pushed Offis's head off gently, in which she looked up at him. Issei looked into her eyes and saw the concern, despite her face showing no emotion. I didn't want it to end so soon, Issei said, smiling shyly. Offis tilted her head and nodded, standing up before getting on the bed herself. Remembering something from what the fallen angels had shown her on a video, she got on her hands and knees and crawled on the bed until she was halfway on. She stayed on her hands and knees, then looked back at Issei with her innocent face. Issei blushed heavily and slowly made his way over to her. Am I really going to graduate from my ID tonight? Are you serious? I get to have, and it's with Offis. I never thought I would. I thought my first time would be with Rainier, as she would have raped me. Can I go through with this? Does she really want this? Offis sat on her knees and reached back, grabbing Issei by the hand and pulled them until she was flush against her behind and her back. She then looked back and gently at him, her soft silky hair gently brushing against his masculine chest, in which it tickled. Issei at her back and he whimpered softly when she pulled away, only to see her return to her hands and knees and look back at him expectantly. Seeing her actions, Issei gulped but continued before pushing his length into her awaiting womanhood before coming upon a barrier. Issei quickly had Offis and thrusted and expected, which lessened the pain for Offis as she had no idea it was coming. Offis had slightly jerked in pain but nevertheless returned with Issei. Issei began to slowly thrust into her as he had her. He had removed himself from behind her and placed her on her back before thrusting back into her gently. He smiled down at her, looking at her cute body. He bent down and at her neck and listened to the labored breathing of Offis. Offis didn't moan or scream in pleasure, but he heard her labored breathing and knew she was like him. They were both in pleasure. Issei grunted in pleasure, however, and continued his thrusts, which were soft and loving. I love you, Offis, Issei admitted as he gently pumped into her a bit faster. Offis was now holding on to Issei as she felt herself getting weak. She felt like holding on to Issei would make her stronger. I love you too, Offis replied, gently holding on to Issei before she gasped out as she clamped down around his member, having her first orgasm for the night. Feeling her clamp around him, Issei groaned loudly and released himself inside of Offis, filling up her womb with his seed, which began to overflow and leak out of her. Issei and Offis stayed connected for a minute before Issei removed himself from her and began to clean up the semen from the sheets. Offis laid there naked and glowing in the aftermath of their shared orgasm, a bigger smile on her face. I guess I'm going to have to thank the fallen angels. They were right. Thank them? What did they do exactly? Issei asked, a bit worried and suspicious now. They taught me how to have and how to, Offis replied. Issei's fists clenched and he looked towards the stairs. R-A-Y-N-A-A-A-A-R-E. Issei growled out in anger and he heard the door opening to the basement and he heard the laughter of all three fallen angels. We got you good, Issei, Rainier laughed out, before she rounded the corner and saw the state of the two. Warner, Middleton and Rainier all had wide eyes at what they saw before them. Rainier, you gave Offis the idea of having her. You out of your fucking mind. You weren't supposed to sleep with her. I just wanted to give you a big shock as she would attempt to molest you. I'm going to kill you. I just raped her. I will kill you, Rainier, Issei roared out. He began to move towards Rainier but was stopped as Offis grabbed Issei and planted it on his lips, which halted all anger towards Rainier. I liked it, Offis said, giving him a smile. I love you. Issei stopped and looked at Offis before looking at Rainier before going back to Offis. I love you too, but I need to think things through, Issei said quickly, rushing off the bed and grabbing his clothes before running up the stairs naked. Rainier, Offis and the other Teo females stood there and watched him leave, before the three fallen angels looked at Offis. You love him, Rainier exclaimed, shocked at Offis. Offis nodded. I do. I never felt this warm and cozy around another person. He is a wonderful person. Well, why did he just run out on you? I thought you guys confessed to each other, Warner asked. Offis shrugged as she had no idea. Middle was silent the entire time and coughed a bit. I wonder if it's because he's confused. Confused about what? Rainier asked. Well, no, I think him wrong. No, tell us, Rainier asked. What do you think is going on? Simple, he likes more than one person, Middle replied. The fallen angels all looked at each other before looking at Offis before they nodded, finally understanding. I don't understand, Offis said. Rainier and the others smiled and sat down next to her, ready to have a big talk. Offis was sitting in between Rainier and Warner while Middle was sitting next to Warner. Offis had just got caught having with Issei, taking both of their IDs. They had also confessed in front of the three fallen angels. The three fallen angels at first didn't trust Offis, but in only a day, they learned a lot about her. She is innocent, naive and pure. She only wants to go home, though now they wonder if she truly does cause of Issei. Offis had told them why she joined the Chaos Brigade, which was because she wanted to return to the dimensional gap and take back her home from Great Red. Issei had stormed out of the room and mostly likely the house, obviously flustered and confused. Offis didn't understand why he left all of a sudden and she felt a pain in her heart when he did so, which she didn't understand why. So how was he? Middle asked. Offis tilted his head. I don't know, very shy I guess. No, I meant in bed. I enjoyed myself, so he was good. Offis said, not really sure what to say. Rainier nodded. Let's just get down to business. Are you sure you really wanted to sleep with him when we taught you these things? We really just expected you to tease him and not really go through with it. I'm more surprised he did though. Offis nodded. I love him. He is my first friend and the first person to talk to me just to be friends. He never cared about my power and he liked me for me. No one ever did that before. So yes, I wanted to sleep with him and him. Aren't they supposed to showcase love? Rainier nodded. We didn't lie about that and all right. I believe you. Why did Issei leave? Offis asked, placing a hand over her heart absent-mindedly. He was confused. Middle said, when he saw us, I could see it in his face and eyes that his mind was racing with confusion, so he snapped. So, my guess is he likes all of us here more than just friends and now he has to choose. Middle theorized. I thought we all agreed to share him. Warner asked. Yes, but he doesn't know that. Rainier said, rolling her eyes. How is he supposed to know? Then there is the problem with Offis, since she is the fourth one. I can share, Offis stated. Rainier looked over at Offis as did the other two fallen. Really? Rainier asked. What happens if I share him with you guys? Offis asked, obviously wondering what would exactly happen if she shared. Well, we were all going to play with each other. Rainier, Middle, and Warner stated. Would be a four-way relationship in a way. I wouldn't mind that, Offis said, tilting her head. You all played with me upstairs anyway. Rainier smirked. Wow, who knew that such an innocent dragon god would be into such kinky things? Middle giggled. Well, I guess Issei is going to be very happy to hear this news. Or scared, Warner said. Rainier grinned maliciously. I'm hoping for scared would be. All the girls, except Offis, all giggled evilly. Issei had left home long ago and was walking through the town. His head was hurting in confusion as he didn't know what to do exactly. There was 4 girls in his house that he had grown close to over time, and after sleeping with Offis, he accepted his feelings for the females of the house. He would have to choose and hurt the others, but how could he do that to any of them? Sure, that's kind of the territory of being a man, but he just couldn't. Issei groaned in frustration and pain before noticing that he was on the docks of the city. Issei had almost walked off the boardwalk. Issei shook his head and turned around, only to notice a figure with his back to him on another boardwalk across from him. Issei walked over silently towards the figure and sat down next to him. Issei had noticed the figure with his black hair. The way he sat, the clothes he wore, the hairstyle and the vibe Issei was getting from him. The man had slightly looked over in his peripheral vision and was a bit shocked to see him, but smiled before noticing Issei's expression. Hey kid, so what's gotten you down in the dumps? Women, Azazel. I have women problems. Women want to talk about it. I was hoping you would still talk to me after yelling at you guys from before. That's all in the past. I wanted to apologize anyway about invading your house like that. All in the past, Azazel. I went overboard and really got mean back then. I was out of line. Nah kid, you weren't. We were, and you had every right to defend Offis. Now, tell me about these problems. I'm in love with multiple girls and I can't bring myself to hurt the others in order to pick one. That dilemma. Well, you do know of the supernatural world and I'm assuming you are talking about the fallen angels, right? Yes. After sleeping with her, the 3 fallen angels had come down the stairs, and that is when I realized I'm in love with them too. Well, fallen angels are very well known for being in harems. In fact, a lot of our females are actually Beul. Issei's eyes went wide. What? No, I couldn't do that to them. Issei, they want it, trust me. I bet they are waiting for you right now, ready to throw you a foursome. Issei looked down, then smiled a bit lecherously. You think? No, I know they are. Trust me, I've been around the block for a long time now. I'm older than the Devil Kings too. An old fart, huh? Yay, funny kid. Wait, did you say after sleeping with her the 3 fallen angels had come down the stairs? Don't you mean 2? No, 3, Issei said, looking at Azazel. Then who did you sleep with if it wasn't the fallen angels? Oh, nobody. Forget it, Issei said, rubbing the back of his head. I should have kept my mouth shut, damn it, now he's going to think him a freak. You only have 4 girls in that house. Wait, you didn't. Issei smiled sheepishly and rubbed the back of his neck. You slept with Offis? Are you fucking serious? Azazel exclaimed, dropping his fishing pole into the water below. Azazel didn't even notice. Issei nodded. She had come into the shower and ed me, so we head back, moved to the bed, and well, there you have it. You slept with the infinite dragon god. You slept with Offis. Are you sure it was Offis? Issei nodded. Very much sure. Wow, that is going to be in history, man. First lover of Offis. Is you a human? Ha ha ha. Azazel laughed, actually smiling. Who would have thought that the almighty, emotionless Offis would take a lover? Yeah, Issei said, sighing. I love Offis too, Issei admitted, holding his head down in frustration. I have to choose her or the fallen angels. That is a dilemma. Well, in this situation I'd say you should follow your heart. You already confessed to Offis, right? Well, I'd say you should choose her, but maybe she isn't the one truly in your heart. I don't know. All I can say is, you need to choose what your heart truly wants. Thanks, Azazel, Issei said, giving him a smile before walking away. Azazel gave a small wave before his eyes went wide. Shit, my fishing pole, damn it, that was my favorite one. As Issei was walking back to his home, a seductive voice was heard. Hey Issei, Rias said, walking up to Issei, who had turned around and looked at her. Oh, hello Rias. Can I help you with something? Rias blushed a bit. I was wondering if you would like to hang out with me for a few hours. Issei looked at his watch and frowned. It's really getting late. Don't we have school tomorrow? Actually, with the schools being repaired due to the incident, school has been cancelled for tomorrow. Oh well, you see. That's great, Rias said with a smile, grabbing Issei by his arm and pressing it between her ass as she dragged him away. Wait, Rias, Issei whined, being dragged by the gorgeous redhead. Rias and Issei entered a bowling alley together where Rias paid for herself and Issei's shoes and lane. Issei whined a bit softly as he was dragged around and reluctantly put on his shoes. He had given up on trying to go back home for the night and resigned himself to staying with Rias for a while. Am I really this weak when it comes to females? I mean, I'm the fucking Juggernaut and I can't escape the clutches of pretty girls. What the hell is wrong with me? Issei, could you help me out? I don't know how to bowl. Issei looked up and nodded, getting up and standing right behind Rias, his chest flush against her back as he took her hands in his own. Why did you come here to the bowling alley if you didn't know how to bowl? I wanted to learn. Okay, it looked like fun. Alright, well, the key to proper bowling is to eye the target. You want to knock all the pins down, so you want to aim dead center. Now, your hand and eye coordination must be spot on too. Your hand must release the ball right between your eyes, sending the ball down the lane. Here is the proper movement to throw the ball, Issei said, gently moving Rias's hand backwards then forwards, showing her the correct movements for bowling. Rias, all the while, was ignoring Issei. She was just blushing at the physical contact. Rias actually did not know how to bowl and was not using this as an excuse to get close to him, though she was unable to deny that this close contact was pleasant. It was then she noticed Issei had released her and motioned for her to do it. Rias blushed. Could you show me again and just guide me through my first hit? Sure. Issei nodded, getting behind Rias and gently moving them both up to bat. Issei took her right hand and both of them swung the ball forward, giving it a nice spin which hit dead center into a strike. I did it, strike. Very good, Rias. Nice shot. Again. All right, Issei said, getting behind Rias once more and doing the same action, giving her another strike. That's two. Thanks so much, Issei. No problem, Issei said with a smile. About an hour later, the game had ended with Rias having a perfect game and Issei had one less strike than her. Issei gave Rias the game kind of, as he never once stopped showing her how to throw the ball. He had enjoyed the contact and the praise he got from Rias, so he continued to do so. Plus, it made her happy when he did it, and that was his main reasoning for helping her. I did better than you, Issei. Maybe I should be the one teaching you how to play. What, I was helping you the entire game? I only hear excuses. Rias teased, smiling at him as they were leaving the bowling alley. Why, you, Issei growled out. Rias giggled and pushed Issei into the wall before she ran away swiftly, leaving Issei behind. Last one to my house has to buy the other ice cream. Oh hell no, I ain't buying you no ice cream, Issei growled out, getting into a sprint behind Rias. As Issei and Rias approached the house, Issei was getting ahead of Rias. Rias, however, grinned evilly and watched as Issei tripped over his tied shoelaces before he hit a trash can on the way to the Orc Club room and fell on top of it. Ha, you owe me an ice cream cone, Rias taunted. What, you cheated? You tied my laces together. Sounds like excuses to me. You have no proof I did anything to you. Now pay up. I hate you, Issei growled out, taking Rias by the hand as he walked her out of the schoolyard and towards a local ice cream shop which was surprisingly open late. Like all evil women, Rias had ordered a very expensive ice cream sundae while Issei got a simple ice cream cone. Issei forked up the money and grumbled as he ate his cone on the way back to the Orc Clubhouse. It was a silent walk back except for the happy sighs coming from Rias every few bites of her ice cream. They had finally ended back at the front door of the Orc Clubhouse and their ice cream was gone. Rias smiled and looked at Issei. Thanks for the lovely time. Yeah, Issei stated. I had fun too, Issei said with a smile. I don't mind hanging out with you. Well, either way, thanks for the date, Rias said, pulling Issei by his shirt with both of her hands and planting her soft lips upon his. Issei's eyes went wide as Rias continued to him for several seconds before releasing him. That was my first. You're welcome, Rias said, winking before disappearing inside. Issei stood still at the door, his eyes still wide before he touched his lips. What the fuck? Why the hell are so many girls after me? Issei yelled inside of his head, confused. Rias had just basically said, I like you. Issei left the schoolyard and made it back home. He silently entered his house and began his journey down the stairs, where he noticed that all the girls were on his bed, sleeping already. He checked the time and noticed it was 2 a.m. Issei smiled and got undressed into his underwear before climbing into his bed with the girls, getting into his normal spot being sandwiched between Rainier and Calawarner. Offis was sleeping at the top of the bed as normal while Middle was sleeping at the foot. Issei smiled happily and drifted off to sleep, feeling the arms of the two females at his side embrace him. He will deal with the females in the morning. Issei was still asleep coming Monday morning, because he knew that school was closed thanks to Rias letting him know last time, after dragging him around on a date. So, Issei knew he could sleep and so his body allowed him to do so instead of waking up like a normal person. Of course, while he was able to sleep in due to his body, he was currently waking up because of some outside forces. Rainier, Middle, and Calawarner were currently awake and sitting up. Rainier had woken up first, followed by Calawarner, and shortly after was Middle. Rainier had smiled at seeing Issei was back home. She woke up in his embrace, well more if she woke up embracing him, but same difference right anyways. All three fallen angels were sitting there slack-jawed at the sight before them. Issei had an erection. Warning wood. Holy shit, Rainier whispered. It's huge, Middle said. How did that fit in her? She whispered back. I think he just crammed that thing in there. That would feel so good, Calawarner said. Issei was waking up himself, but the three girls didn't know that due to he wasn't really making any noises or movements. Issei was listening in on their conversation now, and now that he was awake and able to comprehend what they were saying, he had a hard time not laughing and having a hard time to resist the temptation to slap the back of their heads. It's its penis perfection, Rainier whispered, a bit louder than normal. It's a pillar of awesome sticking out of him, Calawarner said. All hail his glorious rod. Issei couldn't hold it back, and while slowly opening his eyes, he put his palm up to the three fallen angels. Please hold your applause. The three fallen angels were quickly stunned silent, unable to respond to what Issei had said. Issei had a humongous grin on his face at seeing what he said stunned the females. Didn't think I could hear you idiots. Rainier growled at Issei and gripped his manhood and put pressure on him, obviously trying to punish him. Think you are so slick, don't you? I am the Juggernaut. That doesn't mean you can be such a cocky bastard. You said penis. No, I didn't, Rainier growled out, gripping him even harder, which got him to grin even more. So, I guess I don't have to buy you dinner first, huh? Rainier narrowed her eyes and released him, turning away and huffing. Don't be like that. How can you be so upset with so much in your face? Rainier huffed again and kept looking away. Issei let out a laugh before looking at Calawarner and Middle. Well, hi there, Issei said. You do have a nice, Middle said. I hear that a lot. Cocky little shit. Rainier mumbled out. I want to point out you were holding this little shit in your hand. Issei grinned out, which got him a very nice reaction from Rainier. She looked at him with so much anger and fury that it would kill a man 10 times over if it wasn't for the fact Issei was having so much fun. Of course, all fun things have to end, but it didn't this time. It just changed direction. Offis had woken up, and since she was behind Issei had no idea until she appeared from above and placed her lips upon his own, giving him a small. Issei was stunned for a moment before eyeing her back gently, in which she released. Good morning, Issei said, giving Offis a big smile. Morning, Offis replied, a bit emotionlessly of course. Rainier had forgotten all about her anger as she remembered why she was so excited to see Issei in bed with her. This was the moment where she would finally get Issei in her pants. Issei sat up, yawned and stretched before getting out of bed and making his way to the dresser for new clothes. As he was putting on some pants, he was stunned frozen. So, are we going to share him now? Offis asked. Issei turned and coughed. Offis, you can't just say something like that. Offis tilted her head and looked at Issei. Why not? That is what we decided on, right? Issei rubbed the back of his head and looked away. Rainier smiled as she found a way to get back at Issei. Rainier walked up to Issei and held him from behind, gently scraping her nails across his well-formed chest. She blew into his ear and smiled seductively. What's wrong? Issei can't handle all four of us. We aren't that hard to please. Rainier spoke, as seductively as possible. Nothing's wrong, Issei said, shuddering under the touch of the fallen angel. Rainier smiled and nippled his ear, putting a bit more pressure on her nails. Really, are you sure? Cause it sounds like you are unable to handle it. Is it because you aren't man enough to take on 4 women? I don't know what you are talking about, Issei said, not even stuttering. He was trying hard not to give Rainier the pleasure. It was then his luck finally came through. Issei, breakfast is ready. You up? Yeah, Mom, I'm coming, Issei yelled back, quickly pushing Rainier away before finishing getting dressed in pants before running up the stairs shirtless. Rainier was sitting on her butt and smiled at Issei, seeing how easily she got him flustered. She cursed his mother for ruining their moment, but their time will come. Yes, their time will come. About 10 minutes later, all residents of the Hyoudou household were sitting around the dinner table or the little island connected to the sink, eating their breakfast. They were all having eggs, bacon, sausage, and biscuits. It was a quiet dinner, mostly because Issei was quite flustered still from the attack from Rainier. The damn fallen angels are going to kill me, Issei thought bitterly. He knew what they wanted and he knew what he wanted, but it was just so sudden. It's hard to make a move onto multiple women. It was hard enough to make a move on Offis. Then there was Rias, who was making a move on him as well. He was surrounded by so many women, it was a nightmare and a wet dream. He had no idea how to go about this and he knew no advice would help him. This was all on him. Hey Issei, I got multiple tickets to go to the amusement park in Tokyo. I have enough for you and all your girlfriends. Wanna go? His father asked, a smile on his face. They are not my girlfriends, Issei said suddenly, shocked out of his reverie. He then looked around and coughed a bit. They are not my girlfriends, but sure, I can take them. Rainier got an evil smile. So you are meaning the thing with Offis was just a one-time thing? Shut up, Issei whispered a bit harshly towards her. What is she talking about, Issei's mother asked. It's nothing. Rainier is just pulling my chops. If you say so. Rainier grinned. Issei, lying to your parents. How disrespectful. Shut up. His father looked over at Issei and smirked. Are you sure there is nothing going on between you and Offis? Sure looks like there is. So what's going on, Issei? We slept together, Offis said suddenly, causing the entire session of everyone poking fun at Issei to come to a sudden stop. Issei's mother and father were all looking at Issei slack-jawed and eyes wide. Issei groaned loudly when she said that and put his face in both of his hands. What you mean, like in the same bed, right? Issei's mother asked. Why, yeah, that's it, just in the same bed. She slept in my bed. That's it. Oh good. I was worried for a minute my precious boy lost his innocence so quickly. We made love as well. It was lovely, Middle said, sounding like Offis. Issei's mother had fainted suddenly and his father was looking at Issei with shock before looking at Offis, then back to Issei. It was then a few moments later, Issei's father tended to his wife. Honey, oh geez. Sorry kids, I'll take her back to our room. You kids have fun at the park, Issei's father said, lifting up his wife and carrying her out swiftly. Issei was silently crying into his hands. These females were going to kill him. The almighty Juggernaut killed because he finally made friends, and they all turned out to be bombshells. All of them loved him and he loved them. Rainier was now laughing with Calla Warner and Middelt, their laughs turning into howls. Offis was finishing her breakfast, honestly having no idea what happened. I hate you all, Issei said, glaring at the three fallen angels before getting up and putting his dishes into the dishwasher. He then stormed away to get ready for the amusement park. Issei really didn't want to take the females anywhere after what they did to him at breakfast, but he knew his parents wanted the house to themselves. 3 hours later, 1 hour to travel and 2 hours because the three fallen angels took fucking forever to get ready. Like all women, they arrived at the amusement park. Issei was holding on to Offis's left hand, and now the three fallen angels were fighting for the right to hold his other hand. Issei had a very annoyed face, but it was quickly gone when Offis demanded his attention with a polite grab onto his shirt. Are you not happy to see me? Offis asked. Do you regret everything? Issei shook his head and smiled down at her. Of course not. It's just not easy dealing with things as a man. It's hard to get a single girlfriend, let alone 4. I just haven't found a way to do it. Plus, these other women like to make my life hell, so it's really hard. Issei said with a large smile. I will never regret what I did with you. I only regret that I couldn't be a better man for you. Offis shook her head. No, you are the perfect man in my eyes. You have shown my kindness, others haven't. You don't fear me and you don't worship me. It's something I would never have known without you. Issei nodded and gently squeezed her hand, moving with her into the amusement park. After 7 hours of gut twisting, adrenaline pumping, puke-inducing, fun-making, roller coasters, and other amusement park goodies, Issei and his gang of E's were heading back home. They were about a block away from Issei's house when his eyes caught something. His house's door was wide open. Issei released Offis's and Rainer's hands, quickly moving faster towards his house. Rainer had won the right to hold Issei's hands after 11 rounds of rock, paper, scissors. So the entire day, she got to walk right next to Issei like Offis. Issei's eyes were wide and a cold chill covered his spine. When he got up to the door, he noticed that his door was not wide open. It was not there, it was ripped from its hinges. Mom, Dad, Issei yelled out. He sucked in 10,000 pounds into his body and made his way through his house, even with his loud feet. He began to move quickly and search the rooms. When he entered the kitchen, the other females entered as well. He turned his head to them and everyone saw in his eyes the fear. Please help me find them, Issei begged. The other girls nodded, though Offis stayed with Issei. Issei moved into the garage with Offis, Rainer downstairs, Middelt and Calla Warner moved upstairs. After a minute, Rainer called out to Issei. Issei and everyone arrived in the basement, only for everyone minus Offis to have their eyes widen in shock, fury, and utter disgust. Hehehe. Well, hi there, shitty devil and the traitors. Fried is at your service once again, Fried Selzen said, a big grin on his face. On the floor was Issei's father, a hole in the back of his head, while his mother had a sword of light to her neck. Have you missed me? I so remember the punch you gave me, Fried said, rubbing his chest with his gun hand. Oh man, you got me good. I should thank you. With you ruining my plans to take the Little E's sacred gear, I had to go on the run. Well, thanks to that incident, I've been invited to join a new party, oh yes. And they gave little all me toys to play with and I get to slay all the shitty devil sluts I want. Oh, it makes me feel so warm and giddy inside. Issei was glaring at Fried with so much killing intent that a god would fear this man. Unfortunately, Fried was psychotic and he knew he had Issei right where he wanted him, thanks to the blade to his mother. There was tears in Issei's eyes, of course, but nothing was more pronounced than his absolute rage. Issei's fists were clenching so tight that if he hadn't upgraded his strength in defense, his fingers would be broken. Now then, shall we begin, old friend? No answer. Actually, I had a change of heart. I think you'll just go. I do have other things to do and it's so unfair that you have so much help, you cowardly little shit, so I shall see you later. Bye now, Fried said, disappearing into a magic circle of light. As the circle came from his feet, Fried smiled. Present for you, payback for the punch, Fried said, blowing a hole into Issei's mother's face. No, Issei roared out, running over to block the bullet. Unfortunately, Issei would have never made it there, but he put himself right where he needed to be in order to block the bullet, his arms outstretched. It was then a moment later he realized he would have never made it in time. Issei fell to his knees as his tears flowed from his face and sobs came from his throat. No, this can't be happening, this can't be happening, this can't be happening. Issei chanted to himself, pulling his knees to his chest as he rocked. All the girls stared at Issei. The three fallen angels had tears in their eyes and finally pulled their eyes away from Issei, unable to see him the way he is right now. Issei was broken. After a few minutes of crying, Offis finally approached Issei and touched his shoulder. Issei didn't respond, acting as if Offis wasn't there. The familiar's forest. Offis spoke. Issei looked up at Offis. He went to the familiar forest. Offis said. Issei slowly stood up and looked at her, then at the 3 fallen angels. He then looked at his dead parents and he bit his lip, causing himself to bleed. Yes, he bit so hard on his tougher skin, he was bleeding. Rainer smiled. Issei, go with Offis. Get your revenge. We will watch over your parents, Rainer said. Issei looked at the girls and then gave them a small smile. Thanks, he choked out before Offis took him in a magic circle, teleporting him to the familiar forest. Unknown to Issei and everyone, a bright golden light appeared outside of the house's front door. Issei arrived shortly in the familiar forest. It was a forest that looked like it was dead twice over. The sky above was a very dark red and eerie light. The moon was full and the forest was silent upon their entry. Offis had clung to Issei during the transport and let go shortly after they arrived. Issei looked around him to get his bearings when Offis pointed to her right. He's hiding behind that tree, waiting to ambush someone. He does not know of our existence, Offis said. Issei walked over to 3 and shoved his fist right through the bark. He grabbed Fried by his shirt collar and tossed him through the same tree, breaking it in half and across the ground a few yards from Issei's feet. How dare you touch me? Oh shit, it's you. Well, hi there, shitty devil. Did you enjoy my present? I gave it to you with much love. Issei was seething at Fried, who only looked back with a smile of insane joy. Fried stuck his tongue out and took out a gun from his pocket. He quickly shot Issei in the forehead, which sent Issei flying across the ground into a nearby tree, breaking it in half. Issei's forehead was now smoking heavily and there was a large burn on his forehead. Did you like that? This is a new gun, blessed by me. This one shoots such a bigger bullet of light. You should be dead. How are you not dead? Issei growled out loudly and stood up, his feet absorbing some more energy from the ground. I am going to make you suffer, Issei roared out before charging at Fried, who ducked under the initial punch that was aiming to take his head clean off. Ooh, someone's upset. Did your pretty little girlfriends not suck your awa? That's too bad because you don't deserve such fun. Fried laughed out maniacally, swinging a blade of light at Issei. The blade cut Issei on his arm and the wound burned like fire. Issei growled and absorbed more energy, going up to 7 tons. He started at 4 tons when he saw the damage to his house. His mind was no longer rational as rage clouded his vision and his killing intent shot through the roof. Ooh, could it be you're upset because of your loser parents? It's okay. They didn't suffer. You should thank for me ending their pathetic lives. Fried laughed out once more. Issei screamed out in fury and blindly charged Fried, who sidestepped Issei before slashing him in the back. Fried stopped smiling after he saw the fact that Issei was no longer taking damage from Fried's weapons. Damn it, how the fuck do you take damage one time and not the next? You are cheating somehow. Fuck this, I got shit to do, Fried yelled out, running away from Issei, who turned and began to chase him through the forest. Offis was watching the fight all along, just enjoying the show. When Issei chased after Fried, Offis began to walk at her own pace, not really caring to run to Issei. Issei roared out constantly and crashed through trees as he chased Fried. Issei used his head and fists and ran into trees like a ram, turning them into splinters upon contact. Fried was laughing as he saw Issei was chasing him, obviously enjoying the little game they were playing. A lone figure was walking out of a nearby cave, her existence unknown to the pair that was rampaging through her part of the forest. The figure was a good-sized female, about the size of a kino, who had a nice figure. She had perky C-cup-s, nice hips, a toned butt, abs and stomach. She was wearing a navy blue kimono. She had long black hair and bright yellow eyes. As she exited the cave, she looked outside and heard the commotion. She heard trees exploding, croaking, creaking and falling down all over the place, and it was coming her way. She heard roars and laughter, though she mistook said laughter for crying. About a moment later, she spotted Fried exiting the forest, and not too behind was Issei. She watched as Issei crashed through 3 trees before coming into the clearing, and he was chasing down the little man who she knew was the one who was crying. Her face had a large frown on it and her eyes were filled with anger. He dares invade me home and destroy it. I will teach him to fuck with my forest. Issei roared out as he closed in on Fried, closing the distance. Fried had begun to slow down during their 20-minute chase, his body still human and not enhanced like Issei's. Without a warning, a massive dragon's tail swung in an arc and hit Issei square in the stomach and sent him flying. As he was flying, he watched as Fried gave a wave to Issei and a sickening smile before disappearing into a magic circle. Issei roared out in fury as his target escaped him, only to grunt as he slammed into the nearby cave wall, making a large indent on the cave. Issei groaned as he fell from the indent on the rock, only for his rage to make him stand up as he ignored said pain. He sucked up more power until he reached 20,000 pounds, only for a bright blue flame to engulf the area around him, putting him in a large ring of superheated fire. From the fire nearby, he saw the large figure look down at him. A dark blue dragon with large leathery wings and a thick body. She had 4 feet, the 2 back feet much thicker while her front feet had bigger claws. She was a big western dragon. You dare destroy my home, you dare do it and try to murder someone else, you will pay for this, boy. Issei looked at her and his eyes began to cloud up with not rage but killing intent. Issei charged from his spot at the dragon, who spat out a humongous fireball, only for Issei to crash right through it with large amounts of smoke coming from his body. Issei ended up beside the dragon and sent his fist directly into the dragon's right leg, punching right at the knees. The dragon roared in pain as her leg snapped in two and she fell to the ground. She had never seen anyone this strong before that wasn't a god. She looked to her side only to see a fist crash right into her eye, forcing a cry of pain to come from her mouth. She spat out from the attack only to spit out even more as she felt a double punch go into her stomach, forcing up and bile from her own body. She crumbled to the ground only for her to cry out in pain as she felt an elbow strike her in the back only for her to go limp as her spine was severed. She was still alive and breathing but no longer had much motor control except her mouth. Issei walked over to her and stared down into her eyes, his eyes filled with so much pain and anger. She looked up into his eyes and she understood one thing. She made a terrible mistake and assumed that he was the one who did something wrong. She attacked the wrong man. Just as she was about to speak to apologize, Issei grabbed her head and slammed her head into the cave wall over and over and over, just ramming the side of her head into the rock. The force of his pushes cracked the rock in her skull, and only after 20 strikes, Issei dropped her head like a rock. She was no longer able to keep her eyes open as covered her entire face. She was breathing very erratically and looked like she was about to die at any moment. Issei raised both of his fists into the air and formed a massive hammer fist, only for him to feel someone tug at his shirt. At the familiar gesture, Issei turned and looked at Offis, who looked up at him and shook her head. She's no longer a threat. You don't need to kill her. She's not your target. She let him escape. That monster killed my family. Offis, she helped him. She has no ties with the boy. She just made a mistake. Let's just go home. We will find him again. Offis reasoned. Offis didn't like the look of pain on her boyfriend's face, hating the fact that he was no longer the Issei she loved. He was acting on pure rage, and while she understood it, she wouldn't allow him to hurt the ones not responsible. Issei nodded and choked back a sob as Offis disappeared into a purple magic circle, heading somewhere else. The dragon laid on the ground in pain as she was no longer able to move. She chuckled out as best as she could, accept death. So this is how I die, beaten by a child. I, who lived for countless centuries, died a one who has lived less than 2 decades. How pitiful I have become. Though it was interesting, so Offis and the boy are together interesting. Rias was in the familiar forest with her peerage. Akino was walking beside her and Kiba and Kaneko were walking behind them. Who gave us the tip about the terrorists working out here? Kiba asked. My brother didn't say, but I trust him. We must be on the lookout. Rias replied. Kaneko pointed to their right. Dragon. Rias and everyone turned to the right, seeing a very injured and very large dragon laying on the ground. Is that Tiamat? Akino asked. She sounded very surprised. The familiar master did say she resided in the forest and was very hard to find. Kiba said. Rias walked over carefully and quietly, looking at the dragon. Is it dead? Akino whispered. No, I am not dead, child. Though I am dying. Rias and everyone was startled by Tiamat, who finally opened her eyes and looked at the young devils. Who did this to you? Rias asked as she fished through her pockets. She pulled out a large vial. Some boy. I didn't catch his name. At first he was easy to hurt. I smacked him with his tail and then he was able to take whatever I threw at him head on, like he got even tougher. Tiamat said, sighing. Rias and Akino looked at each other. Akino mouthed out, Issei, and Rias shrugged. Anything else you can tell us? Rias asked, placing the bottle of phoenix tears into the dragon's mouth. Tiamat finally bit down after attempting to for a few moments, and everyone watched as the wounds on her body began to seal up. They also heard her bones finally being put back together. Tiamat groaned in pain as her bones painfully came together and fixed themselves up. The boy was with Offis. Issei, Rias admitted. The boy who did this to you was Issei. He is known as the Juggernaut. Fitting name for him. He took me down without a sweat. Tiamat replied. She got up from her spot lying on the ground and stood up on all 4 legs, looking down at the devils. Where would this boy live? In my town of Q, but you can't go there, not if you are going to start trouble. Rias said. I have no intentions of starting trouble, only to apologize to the boy, and to mate with him. Kaneko said quietly, very quietly. I have no idea what you are talking about, cat. Tiamat said, spitting out the cat very angrily. Kaneko looked up at Tiamat. You are a dragon. If anyone defeated you in combat, you would pledge your life to them. You are going to submit to Issei. Dragon's honor. Since he is male, you would most likely mate with him, as males tend to like to mate. Tiamat growled at Kaneko, who stared back at her without fear. Rias coughed out at the awkwardness. Look, we won't hold up your time. Find him in Japan at Kyo. Thank you, Lady Gremory. I hope you find what you are looking for in here. Tiamat said, only to disappear in a magic circle. Rias turned to Kaneko with shock. Were you serious? Is Tiamat really going to go after Issei like that? Kaneko shrugged. It's the dragon code. I read up on them at the library. Akino giggled out. Issei is going to have fun, isn't he? So many women at his beck and call. Akino, he is not like that, Rias declared. Akino looked at her best friend and smiled. He is a man after all, Akino said, leaving it at that. Offis and Issei teleported themselves back into the household of Issei, only for Issei's eyes to widen. Issei spoke a voice. Issei thought gone. Issei turned to the basement door, and in the door was his mother. Mom, no. It really is me, I'm back. This can't be possible, this no, not possible. No, whoever you are not my mother. I watched my mother die earlier. Give me her back, Issei roared out, charging at his mother, hands out to strangle her. Rainer quickly grabbed Issei from behind, holding him back. Issei, stop, I know it's hard to believe, but your parents are back. Trust me, I watched it. Issei looked at his mother and his father who came up the stairs. I don't understand how. It was because I reincarnated your parents, young Juggernaut, said a regal voice. Issei turned to the kitchen and Michiel walked over with his refreshing smile. Michiel, Issei asked incredulously. Yes, it is I made your parents into angels. I came over to talk to you about something and they were dead. I decided to make them into angels. They are my 1 and 2 of spades. Issei looked at his parents who smiled at him and held each other, though they were both very much confused. Ayuthaya, Issei sputtered out, not knowing what to say. Michiel smiled and placed a palm out to tell him to calm down. Issei nodded and breathed 3 deep breaths and looked at Michiel once more. Thank you, Chief Michiel. I don't know how to repay you. There is no need. Your efforts at keeping the peace in this world has been enough. This is a thank you for your efforts. I will get going. I will talk to you about my problems once more, Issei Hyoudou, but at a better time. Farewell, Michiel said, disappearing in a flash of light. Issei turned to his parents and scratched his head. I guess I got some splaining to do. Issei was sitting with Rainer, Middelt, Kalawarner and Offis. Across from them was Issei's parents. Issei looked at his parents and sighed. As you now know, this world is magical. There are beings and creatures from mythology that actually do exist. There are gods from all religions, devils, demons, fallen angels, and whatever else you can think of. If it was in a religion, it exists. Maybe this would go better if you ask me questions. What are you? His father asked. I'm your son, Issei said immediately. But I'm something else, he began to say again, interrupting his father. Michiel said, young Juggernaut, so I'm assuming he's talking about you. Yes, Issei said. Rainer, show them what I mean. Rainer summoned a large spear of light and slammed it right into Issei's face. His mother and father screamed in shock cause they just lost their son, but when the smoke cleared, Issei was unharmed and not even smoking. What I don't understand, his mother said. When I was born, they said I was unique. I was heavier than other babies and I was like this for a long time. One day, I was not heavy anymore. Right, well, I was taught how to hone my abilities by a high-ranking fallen angel, Azazel. Anyways, my ability is simple. I gain mass. With each mass increase, my body get denser and denser. With the increase in my body density, I gain strength and defense according to how much mass I have. My weight also increases. When I start to move, the weight becomes my offensive, as does the inherent strength and defensive. I become an unstoppable force, a juggernaut. His parents nodded understanding. They were not as lost as he thought they would be. Are you okay with us being angels? His mother asked. Why wouldn't I be? I'm surrounded by magical people all day. Mom, Dad, Rainer, Middelt and Kalawarner here are all fallen angels, Issei said. With that, the 3 girls showed off their crow wings. And Offis here, well, Offis is a dragon, believe it or not. A dragon, they exist? His father asked, surprised. Absolutely. It just so happens Offis here is known as the Infinity Dragon God. A god, his mom echoed. A dragon god. Yes, she is more powerful than any god right now. It would take multiple gods just to fight her on equal terms. And you slept with her, his father said, finally getting into the awkward zone. Well, Issei, it's all right, his mom said. I'm not going to be upset with you. In fact, I'm quite happy you found someone to love. Issei sighed. Yes, Offis is my girlfriend, and yes, we slept together. We took each other's firsts. His mother and father blushed a bit and turned to each other happy. They had the grandkids look in their eye. That's not all, Rainer said, grabbing Issei and ing his lips with aggression, shocking both his parents and Issei. When Issei was released, he blinked his eyes and looked at Rainer in shock. You, what the hell do you think you are doing all of a sudden? Rainer, you just ed me in front of my parents after I tell them I have a girlfriend. Do you want them to know that I'm attracted to all of you? Do you want them to think I'm some horndog? We don't see a problem with it, his father said with a lecherous grin. Wait, what? Rainer, we expect grandchildren. A lot of them, his mother said, being completely out of character for herself. What? Issei said again. Issei, we can see they care for you just as much as Offis does. We know that the magical world is different than the human world. It's not hard to believe harems exist. What's with you two being so understanding? What are you two up to? Didn't you hear us before? Grandchildren, his mother said. Oh yes, cause a 16-year-old boy wants children at this time. We didn't say now, but you can use all the practicing you can get, as making children is an art, his father replied. I had to practice with your mom for quite a long time before we had children. Yuma, I don't need to hear this, his mother giggled. Oh yes, your father was quite the man after a few rounds, and look, all that practice made you. Yuma, I don't need to hear this, Issei repeated, getting up and walking away from the lovebird parents who are effectively improving his life and embarrassing him to no end. All the while this was happening, the 3 fallen angel chicks were laughing their asses off, dying on the couch as Issei suffered once again. Issei, Rainer said, looking over the couch and trying to stifle a laugh. Issei turned and looked at her. We can practice tonight, okay, since you need it, Rainer said, only to roll over back on the couch, laughing away as Issei stormed off with a huff. Issei opened the door to his front door, only to find a female was standing there. She had long black hair and yellow eyes. Can I help you? Issei asked. Yes, I'm here for you. How can I help you? Issei asked, a bit confused. With the front door wide open, everyone watched as the black-haired female grabbed Issei and ate him passionately while he stood there in complete and utter shock. Rainier was also shocked and confused. Offis appeared next to Rainier. Tiamat, Offis said, just telling everyone who that was. Issei heard that, and when Tiamat released him, Issei looked at her. The dragon from the forest, Issei asked cautiously. You aren't here for revenge. No, she's here to submit to you, Offis said casually. Issei looked back at Offis with confusion, only to feel his belt being undone. Issei looked at saw Tiamat undoing his belt, and Issei was quick to fall onto his ass, pulling his pants back up as he scooted away. What are you doing? I'm giving myself to you. You beat me in a fight, and I, as a proud dragon, submit myself to you, a man. This is a public place, you idiot. Then let's go somewhere private. No, Issei said, getting up and running away from his house of horrors. Rainier and the others fallen were laughing once again, dying from the life of Issei. Rainier stumbled over to Tiamat and took her arm before pulling her into Issei's house. So, you are the dragon, Tiamat? How well, welcome to Comedy Central, Rainier said, trying to calm her laughter. Right now it was just giggles. I don't understand, Tiamat said, really confused. It's where all of our comedy comes from. Issei Hyoudou is a magnet for all sorts of shenanigans. Heh. And who are you? We're his harem, Rainier said, laughing. Oh, makes sense for someone like him to have a harem, Tiamat said, not disagreeing with it. And welcome aboard, Rainier said, smiling at her as they took Tiamat down to the basement. Issei's parents went up to their room after seeing the commotion, happy that their son was so popular with the ladies. I look forward to sleeping with you, Tiamat says, nodding her head to the girls. But I intend to give myself to Issei first before I play with you. Oh, more fun in the harem, girls, Rainier said to her fallen angel friends with a mischievous grin. Issei ran and ran until he couldn't run no more. He was absolutely exhausted after what had just occurred. He ended up inside of a small maid cafe where he was greeted with a, "Hello, master," from a waitress. He nodded and she took him to a small booth where he looked at a menu and began to decide on what to order. Ara, so what shall we have today? Master spoke a seductive voice. With a groan as Issei recognized the voice, he looked up and saw Akino wearing a revealing maid uniform. What exactly are you doing here, Akino? Don't you have duties to attend to? Akino smiled. I needed to raise a little bit extra money for myself. I wasn't getting enough money for my devil contract, so I took up a small part-time job. This is actually my final day here. Well, I would like a simple crepe with a side of toast and some honey on that toast, please. Of course, master, Akino said before she walked off, going to place the order. 30 seconds later, and with a cup of water, Akino returned and sat on the booth beside him. She pressed her enormous chest against his side and nipped his ear. Oh, master, after seeing what you did to Riser and during the battle with the Chaos Brigade, I found myself so hot and bothered. Akino whispered into his ear, like a siren. Issei slammed his head into the table as he could not escape the females. This time was a different occasion and he realized it. With a gentle push, he pushed Akino off of him and shook his head. Akino, I'm sorry, but I can't be like that for you. Well, I can be the dominant one or the submissive, either way, but that's not the point. What I'm saying is lust isn't what I'm after. I'm sorry, but I'm happy being your friend, Issei said. Akino tilted her head and giggled a bit. All right, master, would you like to hang out with me after my shift? Issei shook his head. It's getting really late. I should head home after this. Awa, are you sure you have to leave? Akino asked, giving him the puppy dog face. Issei sighed and found himself once again weak to the female charms. All right, we can hang out for a few hours, Issei said, giving her a sincere smile. She obviously really wanted to spend time with him, and Issei found himself wanting to spend time with her as well. It was midnight when Issei and Akino left the cafe together. Akino was hanging off of Issei's right arm as they strolled through the town. It was quiet as usual, though the quiet wouldn't last very long. Coming up from behind was a large man with a knife. Issei sensed him and turned his head behind him, spotting the humongous man with the large knife. Nice tail you got there, kid. Hand her over and you two won't get hurt. Issei blinked. Isn't she a bit too young for you? The young ones are the best. I love them when they are almost adults. That really sounds creepy, Issei said, placing Akino behind him. The man growled. Shut the fuck up, don't you dare try to talk out of this, I said. Hand over the girl now, the man said, stabbing the air with his knife as a threat. Sorry, but the girl and I are busy. You should try for her affections when I'm done with her. Why, you little shit, don't you talk to me like that. I will kill you. You are just a kid. Can you please go away? You are frightening the lady, Issei said. Of course, Akino was not frightened and in fact was getting turned on by the way Issei was defending her. She was having a hard time not rubbing her legs together. I like him frightened, it makes it more fun that way. You, shut up, I said. Shut up, fine. He'll just take her by force. You asked for a kid. The man charged with the knife and Issei waited until he got close enough before shoving his fist into the man's solar plexus, grabbing the man's wrist and twisting it, breaking his wrist and dropping the knife. He then kicked the man in the shin before pushing him backward. She doesn't like to be taken by force. How rude, Issei said, walking away with Akino holding his arm again. When they got 2 minutes down their walk, Akino licked Issei's ear sensually. I do enjoy being taken by force actually. When a hot younger guy rips off my clothes and rams into me makes me so hot, Akino said, teasing Issei. Issei was hot under the collar and was getting very uncomfortable. With that, Issei quickly walked with Akino and took her back to the orc club room, ending their date. He said goodbye quickly and began to walk away when Akino stopped him. Could you meet with me tomorrow at the shrine at noon? I have something important to talk to you about, Akino said seriously. Issei noticed how serious she was and he nodded in response, agreeing to her request. I will, I promise, Issei said, smiling. Issei returned back at home about 2 in the morning. When he went to the basement, he noticed his bed was getting smaller and smaller as there was now Tiamat in his bed, laying with Rainier in her arms. Issei sighed and undressed to his boxers before climbing in, laying with Calawarner and Rainier now holding on to him. They unconsciously pulled him to them and held him tight. These women are going to be the death of me, was Issei's last thought before he disappeared into the abyss of sleep.